That's a lot of commanders. Yeah, it's 42 commanders. So this is gonna be a long one. Or I don't even know how long. I don't even know how long. Some of them probably will be less interesting than others. I'm gonna zoom in. Oop. Probably need to zoom in on the right screen. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. But we're gonna be looking at the commanders mostly on Scryfall, just because there's a lot of text and some have two sides, like Mr. Exitus over here. Hey everyone, welcome. Thanks for joining the stream on this lovely Sunday evening slash night, wherever you're watching. I am super stoked about the new Strixhaven card, so I figured why not kind of like figure out where I want to be budget brewing and, what commanders I want to be showcasing on Commander Clash and everything, by kind of like talking it through with chat and figuring out what are the cool things of each commander, what is exciting about each commander, all going to be just like feelings, initial impressions, and everything. I didn't playtest any of these commanders yet, but yeah, it's kind of like fun to sit back and relax and chat and talk about the new sweet Strixhaven commanders. So that's what we're going to be doing. I am going to be putting them in a ranking guide, but just keep in mind that this ranking guide is entirely arbitrary. This is not a a objective power level guide. That's not the point of this exercise. It's more of a ranking scale of how initially excited am I personally to brew around these cards. That's it. There's nothing special about it. So if I put something in S and something in D, it doesn't mean that D is a worse commander or anything and S is a better commander, or that you're a bad person if you like the D commander more than the S commander or anything. It's just entirely arbitrary, just like my gut feeling on just the commanders and whatnot. So don't take it seriously. We're just chilling. We're just having a good time. That's all. That is all, everyone. Alrighty. Am I on time? Yes, you are. Hey, Logan. Hey, Aspiring Is It Mage. Hey, Henry. Cody sucks? I think Cody's cool. Adriano bringing the A+ thumbnail art as usual? Absolutely. Adriano always kills it. And it's just so cool to see him basically improve year by year. It's really cool to see. He does great work. Currently forcing myself to sort cards before Strixhaven arrives. I feel you. I have tried sorting cards before. But every single time I get new cards, like I was thinking about doing box openings and whatnot for the stream, and I hesitate, honestly, because the idea of then organizing those cards afterwards is just actually torture to me. Hey, Alex. Hello. Hey, Paul. That is a lot of commanders. Hey, Tomer, quick question. Do you feel I should run Felicia Fang of Silver Quill as the commander of a Silver Quill Pyrcon when I play straight out of the box of it? I do not know yet. Silver Quill is the last precon that's coming out, and I honestly haven't written the article for it yet, but we can kind of figure that out together. Hey, Xanthosis. Howdy. Hey, Tomer, any thoughts about how good Lorehold will be for Depala? I think there's at least one commander that I'm very excited for a Depala deck. And it is definitely Plarg, Dean of Chaos, but most notably the backside Augusta, Dean of Order. Saying this ability, specifically the last one, whenever you attack, untap each creature you control, then tap any number of creatures you control. So when you attack, you can like untap all the creatures that crewed vehicles, for example, which is really neat. So I think there is some cool synergies that you can be doing around with Augusta as in a Depala deck. I think it's kind of cool synergy with vehicles. Astrum, hello. Belladres, easy S tier. Again, it's entirely arbitrary. This is not a power level guide. It's just what I'm most excited for. But Belladres is very sweet. Hey, Cryonia. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. So this is the definitive tier list. No, this is definitely just Feely Craft here. This is just Feely Craft. What I personally consider, I am personally most excited for. Not power level, not like this is better than this or dictating what you should be excited for. I'm just gonna tell you like what I am personally first thoughts of what I like. That's it. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Opinion on all the Elder Dragons for Elder Dragon Tribal EDH. I think they're stronger than the originals. So if you want to do Elder Dragon EDH and you all want Elder Dragons, I think all of them are really good. In terms of Elder Dragons, by themselves they're very good cards, but in terms of Elder Dragons too, they're quite good. What is your favorite Strixhaven commander? I mean, we're gonna find out right now. Something needs to be an S tier, right? We'll figure it out together. Well, we already know whom is worse. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know yet. You did brew Killian already. Yeah, I guess we did get a head start on some of them. We brewed Killian already on stream. You can watch that VOD on this channel as well if you're interested in seeing us brew Killian together. We went for Orzhov Auras, which I actually really enjoyed, and I think the end result was very sweet. $50 and $100 brews. Those are really cool. Tomer is creating the what? Dun dun dun. Gordon Ramsay troll S tier? Maybe. He's making the greatest chance to punt guy. Oof. I would be an expert on that one at least. Chillin making the best tier list? No. Moving to S tier. Hello, and Calisaur. Most except for Halfrey Ghost Forge. I think that one is a cool one, yeah. Quintoros, of course, is great. Yes. Green is very good, underrated. I find sorting cards very relaxing. Oh my goodness, Jeremy. Do you want to just come over and sort all the cards after the pandemic is over? Very much. I need to find somebody. I need to bribe a friend who enjoys sorting cards to just come over and sort cards. They'll like order pizza or whatever. That sounds ideal. Hey, which college do you like best from Strixhaven? I think they're all really cool in different ways. I think overall, though, maybe like Lorehold, maybe Strixhaven, or maybe Silver Quill. I think those are my top two. What is your favorite Strixhaven Elder Dragon? We'll find out. It's funnier how Augusta is one of the weirdest new creatures despite having the least text. I like that. More of that, please. A lot of text is not great sometimes. Other kind of regrows vehicles tend to end up there on their own. Maybe. It might be good. Can't put to words how disappointed we didn't get a flying broomstick. Yeah, that could have been pretty easy to do, I think. A flying broomstick would have been maybe just an equipment even. It could just be an equipment. Budget Commander Melik deck was my first commander deck. Looking forward to building Zaffi in a similar style. Well, I can tell you that I think the Prismari article is going to go up either tomorrow or after tomorrow. And yeah, there's a lot of overlap with the Melik deck for sure. So if you like that sort of style, then I have an upgrade guide coming out real soon. Essex just reminds me so much of Bondrude. I don't know who that is. All right. I'll sort some cards with you. Hey, Benta, how's it going? All right, I'm sadly falling behind on chat. I'm sorry. I'm slow. But hey, Saffron 4546. Not the Saffron Olive, just the Saffron. Welcome. If I missed any of your questions, feel free to just spam me until I respond. I think that is the best way to do it. But I think we'll start the stream now. We'll get started on the stream. So for people who are just joining, hello, welcome to the stream. We stream Wednesdays and Sundays. Wednesdays is always EDH gameplay, Commander gameplay. Usually I'm running a budget brew. Sometimes I'm not. But for the most part, it's usually a $100 list. And I change it up every single time. Sunday is more relaxing, talking to chat. Either doing like a ranking guide like this, or more often, I'm doing backseat brewing where chat chooses between 4 to 5 different commanders. I put them up on a poll, and you all choose which commander to build around. And then we build a commander, the one that you chose, from scratch. We build an entire deck around it, usually $100 budget. And then usually I take that deck and I play it on the Wednesday stream. But today, since there is a new set that's just been released, we have all the cards previewed. I thought it would be fun to kind of like go over an initial look at all the new commanders and kind of just rank them arbitrarily based on my own personal feelings of how excited I personally am for each commander. It's not a power ranking guide. It's not a you should be excited about XYZ. It's just Tomer is most excited about initially these cards more so than other cards. That's it. That's it. That's all this list is. That's it. That's the stream, everybody. How many cards do you need sorted? We have 42 cards. So it was actually a misnomer. I said it's going to be just Strixhaven commanders. It's not just Strixhaven commanders. It's Strixhaven and Commander 2021 commanders. So, I mean, they're kind of adjacent, so I figured might as well just lump them together, right? Right? Or else the stream would be too short, maybe. Who knows? Depending how long it takes me to even get started, we'll find out. Misnomer? All right. We'll get started. We'll get started, chat. So we're actually going to be looking at the cards over in Scryfall, just because some of them are MDFCs. They have a secondary side on them. So we're going to start with Adrix, Nev, Twincasters. And Adrix, I already have a soft spot for. I'm not going to lie. Wizard of the Coast is really nice to allow this YouTube channel, to preview a full deck list, the Quantum Quandrix deck list, the blue-green one. And when we got the deck, I'll let you know that we didn't think we would get any new cards to preview. Because last year that we did it, all the cards that were in the Commander Precon were already previewed by other people, I think. I'm pretty sure. Don't hold me to that, but I'm pretty sure that was the case. But this time around, we actually got I think it was 17 brand new exclusive cards that came with this Commander set that we got to showcase for the first time ever, and that was insanely cool. So, and I got to do it with the Commander Clash crew, because we just started a podcast. If you haven't heard the podcast yet, we do it bi-weekly, which I don't mean by twice a week. I mean by every other week. Very confusing. I hate the word bi-weekly, but I don't have a better word for it. Every other week, we do a podcast with the Commander Clash crew. It goes up Tuesdays, and we just talk about something Commander related. And we did, for one of the podcasts, we did a special one on Quantum Quandaries that you can also check out on the channel. So the whole spiel involved fortnightly. What does fortnightly mean? Is that because it's twice a night? Is it a fortnight slang? Every other week is fortnightly? Oh my goodness, is that actually the term? I don't know. Maybe it's a Fortnite thing. I don't know. I don't play Fortnites. So Fortnite means every 2 weeks. Oh my goodness. Is that true? Is that true? I need to check with Saffron Olive. I don't know. This sounds right. But bi-weekly literally does mean either twice a week or every 2 weeks, which is just very weird. It existed before the game. I don't know about that. No, I'm kidding. All right. So, is this your way of announcing Fortnite streams? I am far too old to get into Fortnite. I do play some Apex, and I'm terrible at it, which is also a shooter, so I guess it's the same thing, right? Canon sucks. All right. We're getting off track, chat. Off track. chat. There it is. All right, so Adric and Nev Twincasters is just like a really strong commander. Like, it's literally parallel lives on a commander. It costs the same amount as parallel lives. It just says when one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created inside. It's just like a generically very powerful card. And it's even better than parallel lives because, I mean, obviously you can put it in your command zone, which means you have access to it at all times. But even as a creature, it's still better than parallel lives because you're in green, and green is the color of creature tutors. So green has some ways of tutoring up enchantments, but more limited ways than tutoring up a creature. So basically, if you have Adrix and Nev in the 99 of a token deck, you can much more easily find it in your Simic style decks. And it has ward 2. So when it becomes a target of a spell or ability an opponent controls, you counter it unless that player pays 2. So it's even harder to remove it. Like, obviously, it's going to die to creature board wipes and stuff, where the enchantment version will not. How does green tutor enchantments? I don't know if it's straight green, but if you're in Selesnya colors, you have stuff like, what's it called? There's an enchantment. It's an enchantment that says, like, it's 2 mana, green and a white, Sylvan something. Your enchantments have Shroud, I think, and then you can sacrifice it. Pay 1, sacrifice it in Sterling Grove. That's the one. Pay 1, sacrifice it. Search your library for enchantment. I don't know if green has straight like mono green has ways of getting enchantments, but definitely Selesnya does. So there's that. It does work with fractals, right? Yes. So the most common confusion about Adrix in the comments section of our video is the confusion between Adrix's token doubling ability and fractals. So for people who don't know what fractals are, let's see Dika. Fractals are a new creature type for only tokens. They're all 0/0 green and blue creature tokens, and they enter the battlefield with X+1/1 counters on it. And X is always modular. It depends on what's making the fractal. But the idea is that it's a 0/0 with counters on it. And a lot of people were confused thinking that if you make another version of the fractal token with Adrix's ability, it would enter as a 0/0. It wouldn't copy the +1/+1 counters, and so the creature would immediately die. But so the reason why it works is that Adrix and Nev's ability doesn't actually copy the tokens. You're not making copies of the tokens. It's a replacement effect. It basically says when you would make one of these, you instead make 2 of these. So if you make one fractal token with 5 +1/+1 counters on it, instead of making one of them, you make 2 of them. This is different from something like quasi-duplicate. Anything that says copy a creature. When you copy a creature, you're not copying the stuff that's put onto it, like +1/+1 counters. I don't know if this is going to catch it. It does. When you copy a creature with quasi-duplicate, you're not copying the stuff that's already on it. It won't copy tokens it won't copy +1/+1 counters, for example. So if you target a fractal, a 0/0 with +1/+1 counters on it with quasi-duplicate, you're just going to copy the base token, the 0/0, and you're not going to copy the counters that go on it. So if you target with quasi-duplicate, it's going to be a 0/0 and it's going to die. But Adrix is not a copy effect. It's a replacement effect. It doubles the amount of tokens you're making. So whatever those tokens are and anything that comes on it, you're going to be copying as well. So that's an explanation for that. I know it is a little bit confusing, and a lot of people were asking that question. So hopefully that clarifies a little bit. I'm also not a judge, so I don't have like the exact vocabulary for that sort of stuff. But basically, Adrix and Nev does work with fractals. Do not worry about that, folks. So yeah, Adrix and Nev, Twincasters, very powerful. My only complaint with it is it's like really, really strong. Which is not like, it's not like a downside really, but it is like almost a little bit generically strong. So while I'm excited to build decks around it, because it is very powerful, it doesn't excite me like crazy, because I just think of it as a really strong card. Like it's definitely a kill on sight commander for sure. It enables a lot of really powerful decks and strategies. And it's really good for tokens. And I think tokens are kind of like a slightly weaker archetype in general. Because you usually need like to make tokens and you need to copy those tokens. So it's like a 2-card combo and doesn't really win you the game or anything. That said, so I'm happy it exists, but that said, like it's very powerful. It's kill on sight. And it's not terribly, it doesn't really excite me in a novel way. I'm not like, oh wow, this is something I haven't seen before. It's literally parallel lives on the stick. So I'm gonna put it as a tentative B. I think it's a really good card. It's a very strong card. And I'll definitely run it, but it doesn't really excite me in a way that other commanders do. Not so much. I think it's a very strong card. All right, next up, friends. We have one that I'm actually quite excited about. Just got here. Is he ranking only pre-con commanders or the whole set? The whole set. We're doing Strixhaven and Commander 2021. It's going to be 42 of them. So it's going to be a lot of talking. It definitely be a lot of talking over here. So hopefully everybody is comfy, cozy, and has a good drink because we're going to be here for a while. All right. Next up is a commander that I'm actually very excited for. Alaboo, Ancient Witness. This is a Boros commander. 5 mana, so a little bit on the expensive end. But it's a 4/5 legendary artifact creature golem, and it has 2 very powerful abilities. Other artifact creatures you control have haste, so it's a nice little haste enabler for your artifact creatures. Very specific, but you know, nice little anthem. And then the other thing is whenever one or more artifact creatures you control attack, Alaboo, Ancient Witness deals X damage to any target, and you scry X, where X is the number of tapped artifacts you control. This triggered ability is kind of insane. You're only going to get 1 per combat, so you can't really go off with this. I mean, you can get more of them if you use something like Strionic Resonator to copy the trigger, or if you get extra combat steps, you can do it that way too. Nonetheless, despite being a rather fair trigger, it's still an incredibly powerful one. Like, just imagine you just need to attack with a single other artifact creature, and then you just have, if you're in Boros and you're building this style deck, you probably have just a ton of artifacts on the battlefield, probably lots of mana rocks and whatnot. You tap them down, make sure that they're all tapped down, and then Alaboo just, boom, smacks somebody. Any target, it could be somebody's face. You can smack somebody for like 10 or more damage, and you scry 10. Woof, that's really fun, and something that we haven't seen before. Bento, yeah, absolutely. Mirror Battlesphere is like definitely a shoo-in for this, right? Like, can you imagine? Mirror Battlefield, you attack with it, enters the battlefield with 4 artifact tokens. You can like swing with the Battlesphere and tap the 4 tokens. To give it +4/+0, then Alaboo at the very least is going to be dealing 5 damage to any target, and you get to scry 5. That seems really good, and it's probably more likely going to be a lot more damage than that too, because you're going to have stuff like Boros Signet. You're going to have a bunch of stuff that is going to be tapped because you're going to be using it for mana or whatever. I think this card is really sweet, and it's a cool design space. It looks pretty fair. Like, I don't think this card is... It can do really powerful things, but it does so in a very fair way. It's very narrow, too. It focuses on artifact creatures, so you actually do have to work around its ability. But, like, I think this card is really cool. It's a unique design space for Boros. It focuses on artifacts, but specifically artifact creatures. And, yeah, it's based on attacking, which is, like, Boros' brand, but it does so in a very unique way. So I think this card is an S tier for me. I think this does something really unique, and it's something that we haven't seen before, and it's also powerful at the same time, and I just really like it. I think this card's really cool. Really, really cool. I like it a lot. All right, we got 2 down, chat. We got 2 down. Bros infect with grafted exoskeleton. I can see that. It does deal X damage. So if X equals 10, if you slap on a grafted exoskeleton, if you slap this on, it gets an infect. If you just deal 10 damage with Alaboo, that's it. That's it. They're done. They're gone. So that's really sick. That's a strong card. I like it a lot. And it's very unique. A thumbs up on that one. All right, next up, we got Belladres Witherbloom. This is the first of the Elder Dragons in the cycle. There's 5 of them in Strixhaven. Very cool. This is the Golgari / Witherbloom / big? I don't know. This is a 7 mana 4/4 with flying, so it already costs a ton of mana. But again, we're in green, so this mana cost is pretty easy to just generically ramp into, and we're in black, so we can literally cast it, put it on the battlefield from our graveyard for 1 mana. We could just do it for 1 mana. We could just cast Reanimate on it, right? We can cast Reanimate from it, and we lose 7 life, and we put Belladres from our graveyard onto the battlefield for 1 mana. So this mana cost, not really an issue in Golgari colors for sure. Pretty easy to get around, I would say. And then the effects are just insane, right? At the beginning of each upkeep, create a 1/1 black and green pest creature token with, when this creature dies, you gain 1 life. So essentially it's like a verdant, what is it called? Verdant Force? Is it Verdant Force? Verdant Force, there. It's essentially the Verdant Force effect. At the beginning of each upkeep, you create a 1/1 green sapperlung creature token, which is a nice effect. It's even better though because you gain life off it. So you can gain back some life. It works really well with Witherbloom strategies. Really, really nice. And then it has a really powerful pay 10 life effect. Untap all lands you control. Activate only once each turn. This is an insane mana ramp. You can use this 2 ways. You can just cast a bunch of spells with this ability. You know, you can just tap all your mana to cast a bunch of spells. Use Belladres' ability to untap all your mana and then cast more spells. Or you can tap all your mana, float that mana, untap all your lands with Belladres, then tap all your mana again and cast a giant spell. So if you have, let's say you have 10 lands on the battlefield, you could tap all of it, float 10 mana, untap all your lands with Belladres, tap again. Now you can cast a 20 mana spell, which is kind of insane. Probably one of the best spells you're going to be casting off it is probably Torment of Hailfire, if I can find it. Here you go. Imagine in that situation where you have 10 lands and you float 20 mana worth of mana into the spell, where X equals 18 essentially. Repeat this process 18 times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless they sacrifice a permanent discard card. They're dead. They're gone. That's it for them. Goodbye. So this card is very powerful. Both abilities are really strong. It costs a lot of mana, but in green and black, this is pretty easy to do. And the ability is fairly unique. I don't know. I think it ramps and it makes a Verdant Force effect, but I don't know. I do like this ability a lot. I'm not sure about putting it in the command zone. I guess, I mean, you definitely can. But I personally like it more in the 99, where you could just go something like, Entomb, put it into your graveyard, reanimate it, and then you do that. It's not necessarily the most original of plans, but I think it's really sweet. I like it as a card. I expect it to see a lot of play as well. This is probably a low A or B plus for me. I think it's definitely... I don't know if it's more interesting than Adrix. Maybe I'm also too mean about Adrix too. I think it's a solid B. I think it's a solid B. It doesn't super excite me, but it's a very fun and powerful card that I'm going to see a lot of play. So I like it. It's probably a B plus, maybe an A. I don't know. I'll tweak the list after we see some more commanders. But I like where they are right now. Any chance we'll be seeing a deck tech in the near future for one of these S rank commanders? Almost definitely. Almost definitely. If something's an S tier, it means that I have my eyes on brewing it very soon. And this is kind of like we're working together to figure out what I'm most intrigued with and figure out what I want to start brewing around. So, yeah. All right, let's go on to the next one. It's Blex Vexing Pest. Other creatures, bats, insects, and snakes and spiders you control get +1/+1. So a little bit of an anthem effect for anything that's like scurrying on the ground. 3 mana, it's a 3/2 as well, so already pretty decent. When it dies, you gain 4 life. It's pretty okay. It's pretty okay. I definitely think the flavor of this card is very cute. And that definitely bumps it up in a ranking for me. But the friend side, not terribly excited for. I don't know. It's a little bit of a pump effect. Really good if you're in like a pest sort of deck. I'm assuming you go pest tribal if you build this deck. Like you're running Belladres and you're there mostly for this effect, the making pest tokens instead of the pay 10 effect to like win the game. So it's very cute. I like it. And then it has another side too. Search for Blex, which is just really, really nice. You're searching for this pest that has ran away from its enclosure, which is really cool. You look at the top 5 cards of your library. You may put any number of them into your hand and the rest into your graveyard. You lose 3 life for each card put in your hand this way. Say 4 mana sorcery. It's essentially a 1 cheaper version of Midnight something. Forgot the name of it. Moonlight. There it is. Almost got there. Moonlight Bargain. It's essentially Moonlight Bargain. This is a 5 mana instant. You look at the top 5 cards. You can put one in your hand by paying 2 for each one. This one is the same effect, except now you pay 1 less mana to cast it, but it costs more life to use it, and it's a sorcery, not an instant. So I don't know if it's better than Moonlight Bargain, but it's about equivalent. And you're not just getting that; you're also getting the front side as well. I think this card's pretty neat. Personally, I don't know if I want to build a pest deck, so it's a little bit lower to me in my enthusiasm. But I think it's a neat card, and I also really like the flavor of it. Having it in command zone is pretty sweet. Yeah, I think the fact that like early on in the game, you're probably going to cast Search for Blex from your command zone, then let it go to the graveyard. Probably, I would say. I don't think you want to cast Blex Vexing Pest for 5 mana. But like the idea of like casting Search for Blex from your command zone, maybe like turn 3 or whatever, you ramp turn 2, turn 3, you search for Blex, you fill your graveyard with cool stuff, and you put Search for Blex into your graveyard instead of your command zone. Now Blex, the front side, is a creature. You can reanimate it whenever you want. Maybe you can combo off and do stuff with him too. I'm not sure if there are any easy combos with Blex as your commander. But I think the idea is neat. I also really like I like the flavor of it. Personally, not super excited to build it. That's why I put it as a B. I think it's definitely Blex tier. Yeah. Okay, let's do Blex tier. I like it. He's in Blex tier. Personally, not super excited for, but I mean, I like the flavor. I know a lot of people are going to be excited for it, so we'll put him in Blex tier. All right, moving on. Brina. Poor Brina. I think I like Brina a lot more than most folks. I think there's some strikes against this card. When Brina was first showcased, we had a lot of comparisons to Tymna. So this is a 3 mana 1/3 flyer bird warlock. I like that she's a bird. She already gets a point for a bird. I like birds a lot, so A+ for that. Whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, if that opponent has more life than another one of your opponents, that that attacking player draws a card, and you put 2+1/+1 counters on a creature you control. So basically, if any of your opponents are attacking anyone but you, and that person has more life than somebody else, then they get to draw a card, and you get 2+1/+1 counters. So you're gaining a little bit, and they're drawing a card, so they're incentivized to attack a mutual opponent. And if you attack an opponent that has more life than another opponent, then you get to draw a card and put the counter. So you get to benefit the most out of this. And then even if opponents are benefiting off the card draw, you're still getting counters. So in a counter style deck, that's really, really strong. But at the very least, like you're just buffing up your creatures at the very least. The wording is a little bit weird. I don't know if it needed to have this part of the sentence. I don't know if this part of the sentence was necessary. If it just said whenever a player attacks one of your opponents, that attacking player draws a card and you put 2+1/+1 counters on a creature you control, I think the card would still be fair. And I think it would still be balanced. But this little part is just like weird. It's just like a weird extra clause. I guess it's like to avoid a person getting ganged up on, right? Like if somebody's behind in the game or just doesn't have any blockers, then people are incentivized to dunk on that one creature or one player. Silver Quill Precon is the one Sheldon worked on with Right. I think it was, yeah. Feels like a Sheldon clause. Basically, don't attack the person in last, right? Yeah, essentially. Except, like, in last, usually life is a resource, so not necessarily the person in last is always the person... the person at the lowest life total isn't necessarily the person in last. Sometimes there's situations where people are attacking the person and they're at low life total because if you don't attack the person, they will combo off and win. And Brina kind of actively discourages that, which I don't like. So this clause, I very much don't like. I feel like this card could have benefited a bunch if we just took out this little part. It would be a lot less clunky, a lot easier to read. And also, this is just unnecessary. I just don't like this part. So that kind of irks me a little bit. The second part is people basically compare Brina to Tymna the Weaver. Tymna the Weaver is also a 3-mana Orzhov creature, has a lifelink instead of flying. And at the beginning of your post-combat main phase, you pay X life, where X is the number of opponents that were dealt combat damage each turn. And if you do, you draw X cards. So this can draw you 1 card like Brina, or it could draw you up to 3 cards compared to Brina, which is a lot more. And it also doesn't help your opponents, and it gets partner. And so a lot of people are like, oh my goodness, Brina's just like a bad Tymna. And I would agree with that. I would say Tymna is objectively a stronger card than Brina. Like, there's no denying that. But I think that's also a good thing, because, like, why do you want another Tymna, right? Like, Tymna is probably, like, a lot of people say she's, like, one of the most powerful commanders in the format. So, like, why should she be the bar that we want a similar ability to be like? So I think, like, Brina is really cool. Brina doesn't draw you a card. It does, yeah. Attacking player draws a card. So if you are the attacking player, you draw a card. Brina also still helps you. Like, if opponents draw cards off Brina's ability, you're still the one getting counters on it. So Brina's kind of like a fairer version of Tymna, a nerfed version of Tymna. Doesn't have partner. That's probably a very big thing. But I like it. I like the fact that that Brina is a weaker Tymna, because I don't want to be running Tymna. I don't want as powerful of a commander. So I like Brina. It's definitely going to be lower on people's radars. I like the fact that it helps opponents too. I like the fact that they get to draw a card, but you also get the benefit too. You get +1/+1 counters off it. So I really like this card for politics. And politics is my favorite archetype. My favorite archetypes are Spellslinger, Auras, and Politics. And Brina kind of checks one of those marks easily. It's a politics commander. So I really like it. I just don't like this clause, so unhappy about that. But for the rest of it, I really like it as a card. As a commander, maybe it's a little bit lackluster, but as part of the 99 of any political card deck, I very much like it. I think this is like an A, possibly an S for me. I don't know if I want it as a commander, but I definitely really like its ability. I don't like that little one part of the clause, but it's definitely an A for me. I'm very excited for it. Brina is built for politics. Tymna is built for stomping. Yeah, I think that's correct. I think Tymna, if you drop Tymna on the battlefield or in the command zone, people know like, oh, it's a Tymna player. We're going to have to deal with that situation. And even if you're like, oh, I'm just trying to play a fair Tymna, I mean, you still pick Tymna, right? So you could have picked not Tymna, and people wouldn't be as scared of you. And I think Brina is a good alternative here, right? Like, if you only wanted to play Tymna, you didn't care about adding other colors, Brina is a really good replacement effect for that. And I personally am more excited for Brina than Tymna. Yeah. So I like it a bunch. I dock Brina down to A just because she's hard to track when someone clones her. Oh, that could be really annoying, yeah. I think A is a good spot for her. I don't like that little extra clause about life totals. I think that's very unnecessary. But I really like the card itself. All right. Cody. Okay. So also people are saying like what tier is she? Just for people who are just joining us, this tier list is not a power ranking guide. Absolutely not a power ranking guide. If this was a power ranking guide, you'd see Belladres and Adrix in S tier. You'd see Alaboo probably, I don't know, B tier, in the Blex tier, and you'd see Brina probably like in C tier. I think this is like how the power ranking guide would look like. But this is not a power ranking guide. This is Tomer's personal initial opinions of how excited he is for these commanders. That's it, and nothing more. This is very arbitrary, very much my personal feelings, but it's definitely not a power ranking guide. Hello, Andrea. Sorry, Andrea. Could you... Andre, I don't know. Can you tell me how you pronounce it, because I feel terrible for mispronouncing it over and over again. If you could pronounce it for me, I would very much appreciate it, because I would like to say correctly. So sorry. Or if you don't want to, that's fine too. This is Tomer's What Do I Like list? Absolutely. All right, let's move on to Cody. Cody Vociferous? I don't know how to say this word. I want to say it's vociferous. So Cody Vociferous Codex. This is a 3-mana legendary artifact creature. It's a construct. It's a book. I love the fact that it's an animated book. That makes me very happy. So I'm already happy with the flavor of it. Then it comes with 2 abilities. First, it comes with a drawback. You can't cast permanent spells. So you can cast permanent spells before Cody's on the battlefield, but once Cody's on the battlefield, you can't do it. It's stopped. Because Cody's all about casting spells, not permanents. Or rather, instant sorceries, not permanents. So you can pay 4 and tap it to add Wooburg. So you actually go up a mana, and it's also kind of mana fixing. When you cast your next spell this turn, exile cards from the top of your library until you exile an instant or sorcery card with lesser mana value. Until end of turn, you may cast that card without paying its mana cost. Put each other card exiled this way on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is essentially Cascade. This is basically Cascade without the mechanic keyword on it, because, Strixhaven doesn't have a lot of Cascade cards. So essentially, you pay 4, you go up a mana, and then the next spell you cast, the next spell you cast has Cascade. And you can only cascade into an instant or sorcery spell. That's a stipulation. You can't cascade into any spell. It has to be an instant or sorcery. So very cool ability. It's kind of basically like, to me, a much more interesting version of Golos. Golos is an interesting card, I think. Like, in some ways it is interesting because you can find any lands, so you can build like a lands matter deck. This ability does not really work well with lands matter. Like, if you go for like a mazes end deck, you can't really use his other ability, which is kind of awkward. But I mean, at least Golos has a little bit of flavor, I guess. But the problem with Golos is he's just way too strong, and people end up building him in the most optimized way possible, or just build him anyway. And he's just too good. Any way you build Golos is just too good. You can build him Ultimatum Tribal, and he's too good. You can build him a powerful combo deck, and he's too good. You can build him a lands deck, and he's too good. He's just good. He's just too good. He's too good is the problem with him. And Cody, I feel, is like a fair version of Golos. He comes with a drawback, which is actually interesting to build around. His ability is less abusable than Golos, I would say. It is abusable. You can still go infinite with Cody's ability, for sure. And you can still do very powerful things, but it's definitely less abusable than Golos' ability. And I like the flavor of it. It's an animated book. It has a drawback. It has a cool ability. And you can play this for just easy value without being degenerate. Like, you can actually build a casual deck out of Cody, whereas Golos, if you put Golos in the front of any deck, he's going to be too strong. Like, whatever casual idea you have of Golos, he's going to just be a little bit too powerful for whatever you're probably shooting for, I would say. Like, if you're trying to go for a toned-down version of Golos, it's very difficult. Because he just generates value way too easily. Cody, though, you can actually build him as a jank deck, and he's going to be a jank deck. Like, he's not going to be overwhelming to the table, which I think is really cool. So there's some ways you can build Cody with, like, you know, hypergenesis or whatever. You know, you cast a 1 mana instant 1 mana spell with Cody's ability, and then you cascade into a 0 spell, hypergenesis, and you can do some crazy things off that maybe. But you don't need to. And the other cool thing you need to do, you can do rather, you can actually give people, your opponents, copies of Cody. Wait, did I not find it? Assault Suit? Is it not Assault Suit? Assault Suit? Oh, there it is. I just missed it. So you need stuff like, you can play Assault Suit ahead of time, and then you can equip, you can cast Cody, and then you can equip the Assault Suit to Cody, and then you can give Cody to your opponents. Which is really funny because as soon as it's on their turn, they can't cast permanents. So this downside that you've built around, your opponents probably have not built around. So that could actually mess them up, right? Yes, Fractured Identity. That's the next one. Yes. So Fractured Identity, as everyone is saying, is the other ability you do. You exile Cody with Fractured Identity. You give everybody a copy of Fractured Identity. I'm just pointing out that Assault Suit also does the same thing. So Assault Suit, Fractured Identity, there might be other cards that do it as well, but those two are ways to kind of just mess up your opponents by not allowing them to cast permanents. They still get value, obviously. If your opponents have a copy of Cody, either with Assault Suit or Fractured Identity, they can still use Cody's ability, right? And they can still get value out of it. So they could just, like, you know, cast, you know, non-permanent spells and get value out of Cody's ability. So it's not always guaranteed to, like, shut them out or anything, but it is a very cool and powerful thing that Cody can do that you can use its drawback to your advantage, which is very fun, I think. And then, yeah, his ability is really powerful, but not degenerate, not something that you need to abuse. Like, you can abuse his ability, but you don't have to. And if you want to build a janky version of Cody, you absolutely can. So I really like Cody. I think it's a really cool design. I don't know where he went. There he is. So Cody, I like a lot. I think he's an A. I'm very excited to build around him. He's definitely one of the first commanders that I want to build around. So he's going into the S tier. There's a lot of cool things you can do with him, and he doesn't have to be broken if you don't want him to be. So I think he's like a fair fixed version of Golos. So I'm going to put him in the S tier. I'm very happy with it. Sorry, Paul. All right, next up. Dika, Fractal Theorist. Dika. This is another card that we got to preview in the Quandrix deck. This is a 5-mana legendary creature human wizard. It's a 3/3 But you're not here to smack faces with Dika itself. You're using it for its powerful wizarding abilities. The first one being Magecraft. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, you create a Fractal token, a 0/0 green and blue Fractal creature token. You put X +1/+1 counters on it, where X is the spell's mana value. So this is essentially basically like Talrand Sky Summoner. It costs 1 more mana than Talrand. If we compare it to Talrand, Talrand costs 4, and Dika costs 5. Talrand, whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you create a 2/2 blue Drake creature token with flying. Dika will make a Fractal token, but it's the Fractal token's power level, power and toughness is equal to the spell's mana value. So it could be a 0 mana, and then it will just immediately die. It could be 1. It could be 2. Anything higher than 2, though, it's going to be a much bigger creature than whatever Talrand can do. And also, Dika also triggers off copy effects. Talrand only triggers off cast. You have to cast an instant or sorcery, but Dika, you can just copy an instant or sorcery. So more combo potential, I will say. If you do like an infinite loop of copying stuff, you can make infinite tokens with Dika. So it's more versatile in that way, and I think it's worth its extra mana cost. It also comes with another ability. Target creature token can't be blocked this turn. It costs 4, which is a lot of mana, but like if you have one giant fractal, or one giant token in general, like a 10+ power creature that has no evasion, you can just dump 4 mana into it and make it unblockable and go for a lethal swing. How does Magecraft interact with Isochron Scepter? Does it make 1 or 2 triggers? It makes 1 trigger, because I think Isochron Scepter makes a copy. Exile. You may copy the exile card. If you do, you may cast a copy. I think it's 1, right? It is weird. You make a copy of the card, and then you cast a copy. But I think it's 1. Is it 2? Copies and cast, it's 2? Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So you copy the exiled card, so it triggers Dika when you copy an exiled instant or sorcery, and then you cast a copy, and then that triggers it again. You create a copy of the card, not of the spell. It is 1? I don't know. I'm going to go with Neotic, because Neotic always answers all my questions and rules, and he's never been wrong. So if Neotic says it's 1, it's 1. But yeah, that's an interesting thing. Maybe some clarification from yeah. My guess is 1. It's 1. It becomes a spell only at casting. Okay. You create a copy. Oh, you create a copy of the card, not the spell? Huh. Create a copy. You may copy the exiled card, not the exiled spell. If you do, you cast a copy without paying its mana cost. I guess it's 1. I'm going to go with 1. I'm going to say it's just 1 copy. But anyway, so Dika. Do I want Dika in the command zone? Maybe, but probably not. I think I still like, if I'm going for a mono blue Spellslinger token commander, I think I still want Talrand, because generally speaking, if I'm in a Spellslinger deck, I'm going to be filling the deck full of like 1 mana spells, 2 mana spells. I'm not going to be loading up on the higher mana value spells. I mean, there's going to be some, obviously, and there's going to be a bunch of like free spells, like Force of Will. Yeah, combos are fun. Force of Will gives a 5/5. Misdirection gives a 5/5. Fierce Guardianship is 3/3. So there's a bunch of stuff that works real well with Dika. But I think if I wanted to go mono blue Spellslinger tokens, which is very specific, I would still go with Talrand. I like the evasion too. But Dika's not bad as a replacement. But I think Dika is really powerful in the 99 of a bunch of Spellslinger decks. I think both abilities are just very, very powerful. And it's just a really powerful and efficient token generator. It's very similar to Metallurgic Summonings. I think that's probably the best comparison, actually. Because whenever you cast an instant sorcery, you make an XX colorless construct artifact creature token, which is very similar to Dika's ability. It scales based on mana value, right? So Metallurgic Summonings, it's 5 mana. Dika's 5 mana. It makes X tokens, and Dika makes X tokens. Metallurgic Summonings also comes with another ability where you can get a bunch of instant sources back to your graveyard. But Dika also has a powerful ability. I don't know. I think they're both really good. I think if you're ever running a deck with metallurgic summonings, you also want to run the same deck with Dika. Do I want it in the 99 though? Probably not. I think it goes into the Blex tier. I think I'm really happy with it, but I don't really want to build a commander around it. It's a really good player in decks though, so I will put it there. I'll put it there. All right, next up. We got Dina, Soul Steeper, and this is the perfect time to get another sip of my happy juice, which is just coffee. It's just coffee. All right. Dina, Soul Steeper. Whenever it's a 2-mana legendary creature, so this is on the cheap end. B tier is I'm happy it exists here. Pretty much, yeah. Dina, Soul Steeper. This is a 2-mana legendary creature. So it is one of the cheapest commanders out there, just at 2 mana. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. This is already ringing some alarm bells. I don't know if it's Sanguine Blood or Exquisite Bond. It's one of the two. Or Sanguine Bond, Exquisite Blood. One of the two. That is definitely a thing. Like a lighter version of that. Then 1, sacrifice another creature. Dina, Soul Steeper gets X plus X plus O plus until end of turn, where X is a sacrifice creature's power. So it deals with sacrifice and it deals with life gain. Obviously, Witherbloom is all about these two things. Like you make a bunch of pest tokens, for example. Pests want to be sacrificed. When you sacrifice pests, you gain 1 life. Whenever you gain a life, each opponent loses 1 life. So obviously it works well with the Strixhaven mechanics. But it definitely has a lot of combo potential here. I'm not sure off the top of my head. I can't tell you what's like a 2-card combo with Dina, but definitely like 3-card combos pretty easy. With her, you need like basically like a sack outlet, and like a creature that has it into the battlefield gain life effect, and a way to reanimate it pretty easily. It's a 2-card combo. Oh, Exquisite Blood. Yeah, that's the one. Oh my goodness. My brain, chat. My brain. This is why you're here. This is why I'm streaming it. So first of all, you can see me punt in real time. But second of all, you can tell me how cards work. Yeah, alright. So Dina, whenever you gain life, each opponent loses 1 life. And then whenever an opponent loses 1 life, you gain that much life. So basically, as soon as you gain life off anything, your opponents lose if they have Exquisite Blood. And then really, just a off-tangent rant. Why is Exquisite Blood dodging reprints like the Matrix? It got printed once in Avacyn Restored, printed once in Jumpstart. They've literally printed this version, like the Sanguine Blood. They've printed Sanguine Blood or Bond or whatever like a billion times. Look at all these prints. Plus like basically like functional reprints of like Veto and stuff. I feel like they just want Exquisite Blood to be really expensive. Like they just want this side of Exquisite Blood to be really expensive. I don't know why. Like, what are they benefiting off it? I don't know. This is so strange. Literally, like they have to know. They have to know that this card needs reprints, but they're just like, nah. We'll put it in a secret lair probably. I don't know. That kind of bums me out. But anyway, Dina has a really powerful combo win condition. The rest of it, though, I'm not too keen on. Like, what are we doing with Dina outside of like this one combo thingamajigger? Are we building a life gain deck around her, and she's just like a really good, efficient pinger in that regard? Is that good enough to put her in the command zone if you're not going for an Exquisite Blood combo? I'm not sure. Like, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, she has a good combo with her, but yeah, she is a 1-mana sacrifice. I do like that effect. I like the fact that she can actually sacrifice a creature on the man, and she's a 1-mana sacrifice outlet in the command zone, which I like as well. So I think there is stuff going with her. There are piles of landfall life gain. Yeah, I can see like all those like gain lands essentially working well for her, especially if you can bounce Tomer landfall. I mean, it's not It's not. She doesn't have a landfall trigger. If that's what you're saying, I know there's gain lands. There are gain lands. That gain, like, enter the battlefield, tap, gain 1 life when it enters the battlefield or whatever. I don't know how many ones are in Golgari, but I'm sure there's at least one. And if you could like balance it infinite times and replay it, then sure, that's great. But like, I don't know. Personally, she's a combo deck. She seems like a combo deck. She seems like she has good value. Good value even as a sacrifice outlet. She's 2 mana, which I respect. Yeah, there are lots of things that say whenever a land enters, gain life. Yeah, I mean, you could do that. Retreat to Gazande is a good one. Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Personally, I appreciate she exists. I think she's really strong. Maybe I'm underselling her a little bit, but for me, doing stuff like this is good, but like, I don't know. Is she something that I really want in the command zone? I feel like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I want her in the command zone. Like, she's either a B or an A, but I'm going to put her in the B tier. I like her more in the 99, to be honest. I think I'd put her in the 99 unless I wanted to build a combo deck. All right. We'll move on. I like Dina. B tier is not bad, and I also might like change things up a little bit here as well. Like all of these cards, I feel are like Commander. We're going to see a lot of play in Commander, right? Like Belladres is going to see a ton of play. Adrix is probably, you could say, a staple. I know people don't like the word staple, but that is a good terminology for Adrix. Dika probably less so. Dina probably is going to be a big player as well. But I don't know. I'm going to put them all in the B tier for now, and I might swap them around a little bit afterwards. All right. Now we got Essex Fractal Bloom. A lot of people are very hyped about Essex. I'm also very hyped about Essex, but it's gonna be the hard part is gonna be finding enough like cool cards to go with it. But we'll talk about it. So Essex Fractal Bloom is a 6 mana commander. So this is on the higher end, but it is in green. It's blue-green, so you can ramp it out very easily, I would say. It's a 4 mana, it's a 6 mana, 4/4 flyer. And the first time you would create 1 or more tokens during each of your turns, you may instead choose a creature other than Essex Fractal Bloom and create that many tokens that are copies of that creature. This is just like a really hype card, right? Like the card is incredibly flashy, and I have to give props to Wizards of the Coast for making a very flashy sounding commander that's going to do some really cool, absurd things in games. Basically, what you're going to be doing with this is you're going to cast. You're going to have whatever good utility creature on the battlefield. And then you're going to dump the board full of tokens. You know, the more tokens you could put all at once on your turn, the better. And all those tokens are going to become a copy of the best creature on the battlefield. That is basically what you're going to be doing with it. It's very hard not to get value out of it. And you don't even have to choose your own creature. If your opponents have good utility creatures, like let's say like an Eternal Witness is definitely I'll just say Muldrifter. Let's say your opponent has a Muldrifter on the battlefield, right? Your opponent has a Muldrifter on the battlefield. You make you drop whatever token generator on the battlefield. You make 5 tokens. They all come onto the battlefield as a copy of Muldrifter, and you draw 10 cards or whatever, right? Very easy to do. And the best things you're going to be doing with it to really get maximum value out of it is stuff like Avenger of Zendikar. Avenger Zendikar, this is a 7 mana elemental. It's a format staple. You're running it just basically any green deck that wants a big beater runs it, but it's especially good in landfall decks, yada, yada, yada. Imagine, for example, you have 10 lands on the battlefield. Or sorry, you have you have 10 lands on the battlefield. Let's say you have 10 lands on the battlefield, and you cast Avenger of Zendikar. Avenger of Zendikar enters the battlefield, and then you create a 0/1 green plant creature token for each land you control. So you're making 10 plant creature tokens when Avenger of Zendikar enters the battlefield. Essex says the first time you're going to make these tokens, all these tokens, you get to choose what they're going to turn into. They don't have to be plants. They can be any other creature other than Essex. And then you're like, oh, hey, well, these 10 plants, they're all going to enter the battlefield as a copy of Avenger of Zendikar. So then the Avenger of Zendikar enters the battlefield. The 10 other plants turn into Avenger of Zendikar when they enter the battlefield. Then you have 11 Avengers of Zendikar and 100 plant tokens, right? You have 10 plant tokens for each of the Avengers of Zendikars that just entered the battlefield. So 11 Avengers of Zendikar, 100 plant tokens. Whenever a land enters the battlefield at that point, you're going to put 11 +1/+1 counters on them. That's insane. That's an insane value. And that's probably going to be one of the coolest things you're going to be doing with with Essex Fractal Bloom. That's like the best of the best. There are other versions, other things you can do to really fill out your board. The actual precon itself has Hornet Queen, right? So when Hornet Queen enters the battlefield, you create 4 1/1 insect creature tokens. So those 4, at the very least, can turn into Hornet Queen, and then you get 4 times 4. You get like 16. You get 5 Hornet Queens, and then like 16 insects with Death Touch and flying and Death Touch. That seems pretty good. Pretty nice. And then obviously you get also an alternate win condition. You could, for example, if you cast Hornet Queen, and you get those 4 tokens entering the battlefield, and you have Biovisionary on the battlefield, you can make all those tokens enter the battlefield as Biovisionary, and then at your end step, since you control 4 or more creatures named Biovisionary, you just win the game, right? So Essex already has like some insanity going on with it. You can win a lot of different ways, and it's going to be really, really fun. It's going to probably be a nightmare in paper to just like contain all those triggers, keep all that information going and flowing. Like if you already know the interactions going forward, like if you knew like how Avenger of Zendikar works with Essex, and it's great, but like it's going to lead to some nutty board states. I'm really excited for that. I think the nice thing is that Essex has no inherent protection from removal, no ward or anything, and it costs 6 mana. So at the very least, this is definitely a kill on sight commander. But at the very least, your opponents will at least have a fair shot at shutting it down, right? Like if Essex is on the battlefield and then you have mana to do other things, you're probably going to do something so huge you're going to win the game, which I think is fair enough for a 6 mana commander. But your opponents also have a chance to actually deal with it. So I think this is like a very flashy commander, a very Timmy commander, or I don't even know, Johnny/Timmy commander, but also kind of fair, right? Like I think there are ways to, I think this is a card that you can definitely interact with, which is nice. So I really like the design of it. I think this is going to be a casual all-star, but also I think it's also a fair commander too. Yeah, Master of Waves is also very good. Master of Waves. When it enters the battlefield, you create a number of 1/0 elemental creature tokens equal to your devotion to blue. So, I don't know what your devotion to blue would be initially, but let's say like 5. So you have devotion 5, and they all enter the battlefield as a copy. So you make 5 copies of Master of Waves. They all enter the battlefield as a copy of Master of Waves, and they each have, the same mana cost, I think. So then those enter as something, I don't know. I'm not a Quandrix major, all right? I'm not enrolled in Quandrix College, so I don't know how many you'd be making. You'd make 25? I'm going to go with 25. That sounds about right. If you have Devotion 5, you make 25 tokens in the end, and they're all like insanely big because they all get this like +5/+5 or +6/+6. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds cool. That's pretty nice. So I think Essex is a slam dunk of a commander design because I think it's very flashy, it's very exciting, but I also think it's also a fair commander as far as Simic can be in terms of fairness, because it is 6 mana. It does have no inherent protection from removal, so I feel like you can get a lot of value, and it's worth casting and trying to get that value out of it, but your opponents have a fair shot of dealing with it as well. So I think this is a home run commander. I think it's very, very well designed, very balanced. All right. Next up, Exitus Orique Overlord. And this is the first, or sorry, it's the second MDFC of the bunch. And boy howdy, is it basically just 2 cards, full cards stapled together. All right. Exitus Orique Overlord is a Mardu commander. The front side, the face side, is Orzhov. It's 1 white and double black, so 4 mana for a legendary creature human warlock, 2/4 double strike, and it has Magecraft, a very powerful Magecraft ability. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, return target non-legendary creature card from your graveyard to your hand. This is really good. In a sacrifice deck, or any deck that fills your graveyard full of non-legendary creatures, you just cast a bunch of instants or sorceries, like cantrips or whatever, or just generally good cards like the Spark or like removal spells or whatever, Swords of Plowshares. And each time you're doing that, you're getting a card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's this crazy good card advantage engine, card recursion engine. So this front side is really good. It's really great once you've set up a nice full graveyard full of nice, delicious things to recur. Exitus is going to be an excellent engine in that regard. I love Exitus, excited for Exitus. I think I'm excited for Exitus for sure too. Ooh, good for Felicia. Yeah, that's going to be really sick. Exitus cycling seems like it would be really cool. That is a unique thing that I hadn't thought about. Exitus cycling. All right, so Exitus already has a lot of cool things going on. But the other side is also very interesting. This is Awaken the Blood Avatar. This is the Rakdos side. So it's 6 mana, it's 8 mana total. 6 in black and a red for a sorcery spell. So it's not even a creature, it's a sorcery. So as an additional cost to cast a spell, you may sacrifice any number of creatures. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each creature sacrificed this way. So initially you could pay 8 mana for it, but you can sacrifice basically like 3 creatures. If you sacrifice 3 creatures, it's only one black, 1 red, so just 2 mana to cast it. Also, I think you can get around the command tax with it too. I'm not sure if you can get around the command tax with it. But I think you can. So like if you cast it for the first time and the command tax is 2, if it has a command tax on it, you could just sacrifice an additional creature and still keep paying just red black. So I think this is a really nice, like, cool sacrifice, a nice sacrifice enabler, a sacrifice support card. And the ability you get from it is each opponent sacrifices a creature, create a 3/6 black and red avatar creature token with haste, and says whenever this creature attacks, it deals 3 damage to each opponent. So this is like removal plus a threatening attacker. Like it deals, if you have 3 opponents, for example, its triggered attack ability is dealing 9 net damage for you, and then you smack another person for an additional 3 damage, so 12 damage per attack. That seems really good. I don't know. I think that is pretty good. Exitus plus Dockside producing 6 mana. Worthy Cause. What's Worthy Cause? I don't know what Worthy Cause is. Let's see here. Worthy Cause. I've never seen this card in my life. 1 white, buyback for 2. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature. You may gain life equal to the sacrificed creature's toughness. Ugh. Yeah, I guess that does go infinite, huh? Right? Like you sacrifice the Dockside to Worthy Cause. You pay with buyback cost. You sacrifice a bunch of treasures. I guess your opponents need you need to have make 3 treasure tokens with your Dockside for it to go infinite. And then if you make 4 or more tokens, then you make infinite mana. So that's pretty good. 6 treasures? Oh. 6. Dockside producing 6 mana. But Worthy Cause is 3. Turns it to... Oh, because then you have to recast the creature. Okay. 6, you need to cast a creature still. Okay, I got you. That's a cool combo. That's definitely a cool combo. And this is like a weird, obscure card you'd never see anywhere else. So I think that's really neat. I like it. Hey, Froggy Strap. You're not really late. We've been streaming for a bit, but fret not. I have just begun the whole ranking thing. There's a bit left to go. You could see. Yeah, we finally broke Dockside. I mean, Dockside's kind of a meme. It's kind of like Paradox Engine, where like everything is broken with Paradox Engine and everything's broken with Dockside. But I mean, it's cool to point out. I still appreciate that. It's cool to know. With infinite mana, you just win with avatars. Yeah, you could just cast Awaken the Blood Avatar over and over again once you have infinite mana, which is also really cool. I like that a lot too, because it goes into your command zone. And you just recast it over and over again, and the command text doesn't matter if you have infinite mana already. So I like it. I like this card. It's a neat card. I think it has too much text. I think that's the one downside is like there's just too much going on with it. But like I guess if it's your commander, you'll get used to how much text there is on it. But I just feel like these are two separate cards. I think it's just a bit much. I feel like it's just a bit much. That's my hot take on it. This is a bit much. So I will put Exitus. Where are you, Exitus? Where are you, buddy? Where are you, buddy? I will put him as... He's like an S- to me. I really don't like how much text there is on this creature. I really feel like that would be... Yeah, he might be a low. He might be an A+ to me. He might be an A+ to me. I just think like it's just too much. Like, come on, Wizards of the Coast. These are two full up cards. This is a bit much. Are we ranking on power level of flavor? This is my personal arbitrary list on how personally hyped I am for each card. I think this is an A for me. This is not a power ranking guide, and it's not really a flavor guide. It's just more what am I personally excited to brew on. This is Tomer's hype rating. Tomer's hype rating on these cards. That's what it is. Next up is Tom Hiddleston. Oh, here it is. All right, Fang the Broker. All right, this is a 3-mana legendary human warlock 3/3, so 3 mana 3/3. And it has 4 abilities. My goodness. All right. There is a lot going on here, but each ability seems to build into each other. So first you can tap it to sacrifice a creature to put a +1/+1 counter, 2 +1/+1 counters on target creature. Then you can tap it to remove a counter from a creature in control to get a treasure token. Then you can tap it to sacrifice an artifact like that treasure token to create a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. And then I guess you could sacrifice also that creature to make counters, and the cycle goes on forever. So it's very cyclical. And you can pay 4 mana to untap Fang the Broker. I don't... I guess if you have... I was going to say, if you have infinite... I guess if you have infinite mana, you can make infinite tokens, right? Yeah, it's essentially a trading post, yeah. It's essentially a trading post. If you have infinite mana, you can make infinite tokens. His ability, he's 3 mana, so he's not that expensive. He's interesting, but there's a lot of stuff here that I just, for me, at least my initial impression of it is I don't really care about all of this. Yeah, it goes infinite. It makes counters. It makes treasures. It makes tokens. It's very versatile. I like that it exists. I don't know if I would build it. I like that it exists though. I feel like it is a good card. It's got a lot going on, but oof. I don't know. I think it's probably like a B. It's like a Blex tier. Like I'm glad, I'm happy for it, you know? I'm happy that it exists, but I don't know. It's just maybe the 99 of some stuff. I don't know. I might have to be sold on it. Some fun stuff with Persist or Undying. Yeah, I think it's good with Undying or stuff like that. Yeah, it's probably a C. I don't know. If you don't like text, you must hate the Deans. Oh, yo, we'll get to the Deans. We'll get to the Deans. Alright, Felicia, Fang of Silverquill. This is a 4-mana legendary creature, vampire wizard, with flying, and it's a 3/2. Alright, good start, good start. Ooh, it has Mentor. I haven't seen Mentor in a hot minute. Whenever this creature attacks, put a +1/+1/+1 counter on target attacking creature with a lesser power. This is like, Mentor was an old Boros mechanic from the first Return to Ravnica, / Gatecrash. So it's been like 6 years since we've seen Mentor, I think. And I mean, the Commander precons bring back old mechanics sometimes, every once in a while. So, the Silverquill is all about like token makers and counters, and it's a weird mesh. I don't really like putting them together, to be honest. I don't really dig it too much. I feel like the +1/+1 counter thing is kind of tacked on, to be honest, or the token thing is kind of tacked on. I'm not sure. I feel like putting the tokens and the +1/+1 counters, I feel it works a lot better in Quandrix, because Quandrix has fractals, and fractals are tokens that enter the battlefield with counters, and I feel like that's more, I don't know, that feels more like it makes more sense. Like, green is all about that, Simic is all about counters, and green is all about tokens, and blue is all about tokens. Like, they kind of work together. It's from Return to Ravnica? No, it's... Oh, is it from Return to Ravnica? Battalion. Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's from the third set. Whatever. I don't know. I don't know anymore. We went to Ravnica too many times. Yeah, I don't really care about Mentor. Whenever a non-token creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, create X tapped 2/1 white and black inkling creature tokens with flying, where X is the number of counters it had on it. I don't know. It's okay. It's good, I guess. It's good for a +1/+1 counter deck. Like, you put stuff with counters on them. When they die, you get tokens, and the tokens are pretty strong. And maybe you add into sacrifice deck. Obviously, you want to like add Skullclamp to get token value out of it. It's good. I don't know. Yeah, it's Cathar's Crusade. No, but it doesn't work like it's only if a non-token creature dies. Like, if you put counters on the Inklings, then it's not as good. But, like, I mean, Cathar's Crusade is still good. It puts counters on your non-token creatures, then into the battlefield. So it's good. It's all right. I don't know. I'm not very hyped for it. I don't know. I'm putting that in the C tier. I'm happy for it, all right? I'm happy for it. Maybe it's way better. Maybe it's way better than I'm giving it credit for, but I just look at it and I'm like, all right, I personally not too excited for it. All right, let's go on. Let's go on to stuff that I'm more excited for. Galazip Prismari. This is the next Elder Dragon. It's flying, 3/4, 4 mana. Sorry, 4 mana, 3/4 with flying. When it enters the battlefield, you create a treasure token. Huzzah. Artifacts you control have tap, add 1 mana of any color. Spend this mana only to cast instant or sorcery spells. So this is a Spellslinger support card. The mana you generate out of it is only going to be going towards instant or sorcery spells, which is great if you want to be a Spellslinger deck. It works really well with treasure tokens, because treasure tokens need to sacrifice themselves to get the mana. So basically, every single treasure token basically is repeatable right now. So you can tap them to generate mana without sacrificing them. So it's an upgrade for your treasure tokens. It's kind of mana fixing for your mana rocks that don't tap for mana of any color. If you're casting instant sorcery spells, it's also really good with one card I really like with it is Saheeli. This one, Saheeli Sublime Artificer. Saheeli is great in the Spellslinger deck because whenever you cast a non-creature spell, like instants or sorceries, you make a 1/1 colorless servo artifact creature token. So you can just flood the board with artifact creature tokens, and then Galazith will let you tap all those tokens for mana of any color, as long as you're casting instants or sorceries. So I like it. It's a good card. I'm going to add it to my Is It Spellslinger deck. Do I want him as a commander, though? Probably not. Probably not. I don't really want him as a commander. He's less interesting in the commander, but I think he's a good part of the 99. So, yeah, I think he is. I don't know. I'm pretty stoked for him. He's a little bit. He's a little bit. I don't know. I don't know if he's boring, but he's a good playmaker in the 99. I think he does a unique thing. You know what? I'll put him in A. I'm an Izzet fanboy. I'm an Izzet Spellslinger fanboy. He goes into the A slot. All right. I don't need to justify anything. All right. We're getting into the spice. We're getting to the good stuff now, chat. Yomi Master Chef. I never thought about Saheeli. MTG Explainers. Hello. Is that Dweddles? Hello if it's Dweddles. Or hello if it's not Dweddles, too. Hello, MTG Explainers. Yeah. I think Saheeli is probably like the best thing with Galazeth. It's one of the most efficient ways to make a bunch of 1/1 artifact tokens in general, I think. One of the best. I'm sure there are better ways there. So I feel like Galazith has potential. All right, now we're moving to the good stuff. We're moving to the good stuff. It is Yomi Master Chef. This is a 4-mana Golgari or Witherbloom commander. It's a 5/3 with Trample, which is already pretty decent stats for, a 4-mana legendary creature. And at the beginning of your end step, create a number of food tokens equal to the number of non-token creatures you had enter the battlefield under your control this turn. And you could pay 1 and sacrifice a food. Target creature gains indestructible until end of turn, and you tap it. So, protection, life gain, artifact token maker, and works really well with just, playing creatures. I think this is really good. I think there has to be some combos of this as well, where you just do like a sacrifice loop or enter the battlefield loop where, you have a creature die and then you reanimate it and you do that loop over and over again, or you bounce it back to your hand and you do that over and over again. And then you just make an army of food tokens. And then what will you do with the food tokens? You Marionette Master. Yeah, Yomi with Marionette Master is bonkers, and Cat in a Sack Outlet is bonkers. I don't know if I'm spelling it right. Nope. There? Yeah. Second time's a charm. Marionette Master is a really nice combo with Yomi. Whenever an artifact you control is put into graveyard from the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to Marionette's power. So you make a bunch of food tokens, you sacrifice them, hopefully without having to pay 1 with this ability. Hopefully you can sacrifice it for free somehow. And then you just, make your opponents lose a whole bunch of life and you win the game that way. So that's really powerful. I also love that it has Witch's Oven combo. Witch's Oven? Nope. Witch's Oven? Boom. Damn. Boom. You can do the cat combo, obviously. I don't know the name of the cat, though. Cat. Nope, that's not going to work. Anybody know the name of the cat? Yeah, Crocline Ironworks is definitely really nice. Is the Witches familiar? Cauldron familiar. Yeah. Yeah, Cauldron familiar. All right, so the deck I think at the top end, this deck is like a, Crocline Ironworks combo deck, go for those type of lines maybe. I can't spell anything. I was going to spell Ironworks and hope for the play. There it is. Crocline Ironworks. You can sacrifice the food tokens to make mana, and then you could probably win the game off that. So there are some combo wins with Yomi, but I feel like the main thing for me is this is our official food tribal commander. For those who didn't know, we recently did a Commander Clash, which by recently I mean it went up 2 days ago, where we did these janky decks, and I played a food tribal list. And every single card, we ran every single food card that was in Jund. We had Korvold, Faker's King as our commander. We ran every single food related card in Jund. I don't think there were any in red, by the way. I think they were all Golgari cards. But we just ran a super flavorful deck, and every single card reference, every single non-land card, referenced food in some way. Either in the name of it, the artwork of it, or actually those are only two. We went kind of deep. We ran some more powerful cards, like codes like Butcher of Truth. Butchers, deal with meat, and meat is something to eat. So come on, just give it to me. All right, we're running like Bognati, Wicked Wolf, Nightshade Harvester for food. Gluttonous Troll. Come on, it's Gluttonous Troll. It's fantastic. Giant Skewer, Witch's Oven. You got the cat. You got the Cauldron Familiar. You got the cat combo in here. You got Hot Soup. Yeah, croaks him because he's hungry. Exactly. So if you want to see this deck in action, by the way, shameless plug, it's on our YouTube channel. You can check it out. It's the latest Commander Clash that went up on Friday. So yeah, super flavorful deck. And I can't wait to replace Corvold with Yomi Master Chef in the command zone. This is going to be fun. It's just a fun, silly deck that might have some like legit, combo win potential too over here. But even if you're not going for the combos, you're just a food deck. It's just cute. I love the artwork. I love like the flavor of this deck. It's a legendary commander chef. It makes food. This is like this. I don't think there's going to be a commander that I like more than Gyomi. I'll be honest, chat. I feel like this is like S+ tier. Gyomi is chef's kiss, exactly. Yeah. I think this is the perfect commander. This is just perfection. Yeah, really spicy commander. I like it. Gonna heat things up. All right. We'll move on, chat. We'll move on. But this is my top favorite of the thing. Yeah. All right. Hofri Ghostforge. Hofri Ghostforge. This is another really cool new commander. This is a Boros commander, legendary creature, dwarf cleric, 4/5, with 2 powerful abilities. Spirits you control get +1/+1 and have trample and haste. And whenever another non-token creature you control dies, exile it. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that creature, except it's a spirit in addition to its other other types. And it has, when this creature leaves the battlefield, return the exiled card to your graveyard. So that's a lot of text. That's a lot of things that's going on with this. But basically, whenever a non-token creature you control dies, you get a token copy of it that is a spirit. And when that token copy leaves the battlefield, then you put the creature that died into your graveyard, and then you can like reanimate it and do all that stuff with it afterwards. And when you get a token copy of it, it's actually stronger than the regular version because Hofri buffs spirits. It gives them +1/+1, trample, and haste. So you could do something like you can play a big scary creature, immediately sacrifice it for value, then a token version of it immediately enters the battlefield. It's a spirit, so now it gets +1/+1, trample and haste, and immediately smacks and does some crazy things here. Oof, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's a lot of value, I will say. He is Blink commander, but with extra STE and in Boros. I feel like he could be a sacrifice commander too, though. He doesn't necessarily need to be a Blink commander. I think he'd be like Boros sacrifice would be my first thing. All I'm hearing is 7 doors plus board wipe or a sack outlet. Yeah, I mean that works too. Oh god, sneak attack in this? Yeah, that would be fun. Sneak attack is very good with this as well. Take a Felden base, put some white reanimation and white good creatures. I think so. I want him in the Pala to make vehicles come back when they die. Oh my goodness. Does that work? Whenever yeah, it does. Because it's a creature when it dies. So you exile it, then you make a copy of it. Yeah, that's pretty good. So I like this design space. It's fairly unique in Boros. Boros does have some reanimator options, but this is like a cool twist on it. It also has a little bit of like spirit tribal synergy too. So you can add a bunch of spirits that will always get the benefit of his Anthem ability, even if they don't die and become a token. But yeah, I think I think this card's really good. It's a unique twist or a unique ability. Not entirely unique. There is Nightmare Shepherd. It's essentially a buffed up Nightmare Shepherd. Nightmare Shepherd's 4 mana, and it does a very similar thing, except the token is a 1/1 instead of just being its regular power and toughness, and the creature is exiled forever. You don't get it back after the token leaves. So I like this a lot. This is a slam dunk in Depala in the 99, but it's also really good as a commander. I think this is like a really good sacrifice commander, for example. So yeah, like something like Selfless Spirit. Something like Selfless Spirit. Oh wow, my voice is already going away. You can like play Selfless Spirit, smack fools with 3/2 with trample and haste, and then sacrifice it to give your creature indestructible. Then you get a token version of it. You can sacrifice it, give your creature indestructible again. Then that creature is now in your graveyard, and you can like reanimate it and do silly things with that too. Yeah, Broodmoth is really good too. Broodmoth is definitely really good too. Whenever a creature you control without flying dies, returning to the battlefield under its own control, flying counter on it. So there's a lot of synergies here. Stay hydrated, Tomer in chat. That's actually a good point. After this one, I'm going to take a little drinky and just re-chat a little bit. All right, so I like Hofri a lot. I think this is an S tier. Oh yeah, Broodmoth won't work actually. This is 2 replacement effects, right? So 1 replacement effect would return to the battlefield with a flying counter, but the other replacement would exile it, right? So it would either be exiled or be returned to the battlefield with a +1 with a flying counter on it. So the Broodmoth doesn't work, but I mean the other stuff works. Or maybe it's like a good backup plan, right? Like maybe if you don't have Hofri on the battlefield, you put Broodmoth on the battlefield. I don't know. Remember to get enough fluid? Oh no. No. Fluid is banned. Oh, it's it's a similar effect to Nightmare Shepherd. Yeah, okay. That's fair. Rally the Ancestors. I don't know that card. I think that's a Khans of Tarkir card. Like temporary. Return each creature card of converted mana cost X or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. Exile those creatures at the beginning. You need a sack outlet. If you have a sack outlet with Hofri, like if you have Hofri on the battlefield, you cast Rally the Ancestors, and then you like, I don't know, Ashnod's Altar or whatever. And then you Ashnod's Altar before they would get exiled. Then that would be a pretty big wombo combo, right? Because you only exile those creatures at the beginning of your next upkeep. So if you sacrifice them before then, they don't get exiled. Yeah. Yeah, so I like that too. That's pretty sweet. I like that a lot. All right, so yeah, that's another S tier, I think. Easy peasy. All right, let's go to another Simic commander. Whew. Jazzy, Oracle of Arcavios. This is an 8 mana commander. Since you're reading chat, Tomer, I want to suggest Vadrok as the next backseat brew commander. It's so sweet. We'll get to Vadrok. That's like the Ikoria one, right? I've been impressed with it. Which Strixhaven college would you join? I think I would be Lorehold. Like, real life me likes ancient history stuff. So Lorehold seems nice and very pleasant environment to work in. So I think I would join Strixhaven College. I wish I was cool enough for the Silver Quill because they dress up real nice. But I'm also not interested in the military, so that's also feels bad. Cauldron of Souls. Cauldron of Souls would be sweet too. Yep. All right. We'll dive into Jazzy now. So this is an 8 mana. 8 mana. This is a lot of mana. 8 mana. Simic legendary. One side is a legendary creature. the Jazzy side, and the back side, it's an MDFC. It's got a sorcery spell for 4 mana. So the front side, Jazzy, Oracle of Arcavios, 8 mana, legendary creature, human wizard. It's a 5/5. This is a beefy elderly gal. Beefy elderly wizard. Discard a card, return Jazzy, Oracle of Arcavios to its owner's hand, and it has a powerful Magecraft ability. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card, you may cast it by paying 1 rather than paying its mana cost. Woof. If it's a land card, you just put it onto the battlefield. So that's really strong. I mean, this is an 8 mana spell. This is an 8 mana creature that has no easy ways of cheating its mana cost. You just have to ramp into it. If this is your commander, for example, if it's your commander, you just have to ramp into it. If you're in like Sultai colors and you put in the 99, then you could just reanimate it, and the mana cost doesn't really matter. But it's an 8 mana spell, so I'm expecting it to be kind of big, and it doesn't disappoint. The Magecraft ability does not disappoint. Basically, like, you just cast like 1 instant or sorcery spell, and if you're like a Simic Spellslinger style deck, then you can, reveal the top card of your library, cast it by paying 1, and then if it's another instant or sorcery spell, you just Magecraft again, and you chain reaction, casting instant sorceries off your top of your library. And if it's a light card, you just put it on the battlefield, and oof, those lands can also pay for those Magecraft mana costs. So it's really good. It's like this supreme card draw plus ramp engine. It gives a massive discount to all the spells you're casting off it. You just 1 instead of whatever it's going to be. And it puts a bunch of lands onto the battlefield. So it's card draw, land ramp, and also just ramp with that mana discount. So, I mean, it's definitely worth its mana cost. It does a lot of... that Magecraft is really powerful. And the nice thing is you can just save Jazzy too. So if Jazzy's about to die, you can just bounce it back to your hand and recast Jazzy, or cast it for its backside. And the backside is Journey to the Oracle, 4 mana sorcery. You may put any number of land cards from your hand onto the battlefield. Then, if you control 8 or more lands, you may discard a card. If you do, return Journey to the Oracle to its owner's hand. Oof. So this is like an Ultra Summer's Bloom. Like, Summer Bloom is a 2 mana sorcery. It lets you play up to 3 additional lands this turn. And most of the time, Summer Bloom is just going to be better. It costs half as much. And the odds of you having like more than 3 lands in your hand at a given time are kind of low. But if you do match that criteria, maybe, for example, Simic might have some ways to draw a lot of cards, especially if you're playing a lot of lands very quickly. Maybe, for example, you have like something like Tatyova onto the battlefield, or you have something like AC on the battlefield. Those are definitely the top 2 things you can be doing with this. But playing multiple lands each turn, or playing like 4+ lands with Journey of the Oracle is pretty easy to do. Pretty easy and beneficial to do in like an AC and Tatyova deck, or also like something like Storm Cauldron, where each player could play additional lands, but whenever it's tapped for mana, you have to return to your hand. So there's a lot of like land stacksy things you can do with this as well that plays into Journey to the Oracle. Having both on the same card though is really, really good. I think Jazzy is going to be an excellent commander, but also great in the part of the 99 of either Tatyova or AC. Honestly, unless I'm missing something, I think AC, Tatyova, and Jazzy are pretty much all the same deck. Like, they're pretty much interchangeable. I don't see what you would do, like, specifically. Like, let's say I want to build a Simic deck around Jazzy. Would it really look any different from Tatyova, or would it look any different from AC? I don't think so. I feel like they're all the same deck. I feel like you build the Simic Landfall deck, and then you decide if you want Jazzy, AC, or Tatyova in your command zone. That's my gut feeling. I could be wrong. Maybe Jazzy has some sweet tech that I'm undervaluing. Maybe Jazzy does some really cool things. Yeah, Jazzy's also better with storm spells. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like if you had Jazzy, you would put AC or Antat-Yova into the 99 for sure. You're leaning a little bit more towards Storm. So that's neat. But I feel like that's pretty much it. Later, Crayonia. Have a good night. So I don't know. I think it's a really strong card. Is it really exciting for me? Not really. It's fine. I think it's a really powerful card. I don't think it's too busted. I think it's pretty much in line with Jadzi and Tet-Yova. Just something that me personally, I've already played AC and Tet-Yova, so this doesn't really excite me in a new way. I feel like the Storm angle is kind of cool, so I'm gonna put it in the Blux tier. It's cool. I'm happy for people who like it, but not necessarily for me. Not necessarily the most for me. All right, we'll move on to Kian, Dean of Substance, and the backside is Imbraham, Dean of Theory. All right, I'll be honest. I don't like the Deans. I don't like the Deans. It's too much. Look at the words I have to read here. Look at the words. It's too much. The front side is a 3-mana 2/2 Elf Druid, 2 abilities. Why does it have 2 abilities? I don't want to go. It feels like I've joined a Strixhaven college, and now I have to read a textbook before attending class. Like, all right. You tap it, exile the top card of your library. If it's a land card, you put it in your hands. Okay, so card advantage. Otherwise, you put a study counter on it. Then you can pay 5 mana to create a 0/0 green and blue fractal creature token. Put a +1/+1 counter on for each different mana value among the mana cards you own and exile with study counters. Okay, so you use her first ability, you exile things. If it's a land, you put it into your hand. Otherwise, you study counter on it. Then you want to exile things with different mana values, make the biggest fractal tokens. Hooray! Alright, other side. Imbraham, Dina Theory. 4 mana, Bird Wizard, flying 3/3. It has an X and a double blue. Exile the top X cards of your library and put a study counter on each of them. Then you may put a card you own in exile with a study counter on it. Okay, so you have a bunch of study counters in exile, and then you can use this ability to get back stuff from exile. It's a Bird Wizard. It gets a plus on that. And both sides interact really well with each other. Both of them have study counter synergies. Kian notably doesn't let you get back the stuff you exile with study counters, but Imbraham does. So there could be some uniqueness of bouncing it back to your hand afterwards. It's too much text. I'm sorry. I don't care. I don't care about this card. It's too much. I don't care. It doesn't do anything interesting enough for me to care about it. It's in the Dean tier. That is actually a good term for it. It's Dean tier. Oh man, that is too much. It's too much. I don't... Why? Why just make 2 cards? Make 2 different cards with the coast. You found a cool... You found a cool thing with MDFCs in Battle for Zendikar, and now you went too far. You're like, wow, this is a really cool design space. Let's push to the extreme, and here is the extreme. Hopefully we see less MDFCs like this. I like MDFCs where one side is a card and the other side is a land. Keep it like that. Keep it simple. Keep it nice and simple. One side is a land, one side is a card. I like it. Keep it nice and simple. No Deans. Deans is extreme that I do not like. All right, rant over. Killian, Ink Doulas. We actually built a Killian deck on stream already last week on Sunday. So if you want to see it, you can check it out in the YouTube channel. It was really good. It was a really sweet deck. We ended up building an Orzhov Aura deck. So let's read about it first. Killian, Ink Doulas. This is a 2 mana creature, so it's pretty darn cheap. Just a white and a black for a legendary creature, human warlock, 2/2 with lifelink and menace. So it's pretty good at smacking fools. And spells you cast to target a creature costs 2 less to cast. So anything that targets a creature, any spell that targets a creature, it could be enchantments, auras that target creatures, it could be instant spells, it could be sorcery spells, anything that targets a creature. It costs 2 less to cast, which is a huge discount for a 2-mana creature. It's like an insane, situational, but insane, mana discount person. So I really like it. It's a unique ability, and it has some cool stats on it. And the question is, how do you use it properly, right? If you want this in your command zone, how do you use it properly? I saw a lot of people building Killian as basically just like a Toshiro Umezawa, where you just fill your deck with like kill spells, right? My brain is falling off, but let's say you want to like hard cast a Snuff Out, for example, target creature. You can blow them up for 2 mana instead of 4. So stuff like that is really good. The way I built him though was Orzhov Auras. And the reason why is because Killian's ability, while it's a great mana discount, don't get me wrong, the only problem with Killian is you're going to really want to load up on card draw. Because if you can cast a lot of your spells for very little amounts of mana, you're going to find yourself very quickly finding yourself empty-handed, or just have too many like kill spells or anything spells and not enough things to do with them, and it'll be a clunky draw and everything. So you really want to smooth out your hands, smooth out your draws, and make sure you always have stuff to cast. And the way I did that was with auras. So let us check out the auras. Where are you, auras? There you are. So we built it 2 different ways. The first way, $50 and $100. And we did that live on stream last week, so you can check it out. So this is Killian Auras. Basically, we're using stuff like, we're using a bunch of auras, and the insane discount Killian offers them to really just pump out an insane amount of auras in a very little amount of time. So we have like Sage's Reverie. This is a 4-mana aura, but it costs 2 mana with Killian out. And draw a card for each aura you control that's attached to a creature, and it pumps Killian. Inner Demon, you can pay 2 mana instead of 4 to enchant Killian, give him +2/+2 in flying, and make him a demon. And all other creatures, all non-demon creatures, get -2/-2 in the end of turn. Make him indestructible for 2 mana instead of 4 with indestructibility. Shut down a creature for 2 mana, or any non-creature permanent for 4 mana, because only if it targets creatures. Face Unbroken. So basically, we load up Killian, Voltron him up, suit him up, and make him as big as possible to start one-shotting fools of like Ethereal Armor or Eidolon of Countless Battles and stuff like that. Just one-shot people, Phyresis as well. And then you also use auras offensively to enchant them and act as removal and whatnot. So, yeah. The deck is actually pretty darn sweet. I'm really excited to try it out, but it's not available on MTGO yet because Strixhaven's not out yet. Don't auras target a creature after they enter the battlefield? No. If it says enchant creature, it's targeting a creature when it goes on the stack. So it works with Killian's ability. And yeah, I think this deck is actually pretty darn sweet. It also has a lot of like Orzhov aura synergy, like Hateful Eidolon. If an enchanted creature dies, you draw a card for each aura you control that was attached to it. You can draw cards off Core Spirit Dancer and SRAM. Heliod's Pilgrim finds auras very efficiently. Message Changers draw more cards. It's got a lot of stuff. Replenish is like a $500 card, so it's not. We don't have Replenish, but we have an aura version of it. Literally aura Replenish. Reteller. You return each aura card from your graveyard to play. Only creatures can be enchanted this way. So it's essentially a replenish in our deck. Reminder that we forgot Slaughter in the deck. I thought about it, the damned, and then I decided against it. It's a good card. It's a generically good card, but I did not think we needed more targeted creature removal. So yeah, that's Killian. I like Killian a bunch. I think it's a cool design space. It's not an overpowered commander. I don't think it's an incredibly powerful one. It doesn't inherently draw you a ton of cards, but the mana discount's really, really fun. So I'm going to put Killian in S tier. I really like him. I'm really excited to give him a shot in the future stream. All right, next up. It's Layla, the Blade Reforged. Ethereal Armor's in the deck. Yeah, Jasmine. All right. Layla, the Blade Reforged. This is a 3-mana legendary creature spirit warrior, 2/2 with haste, and it has 2 triggered abilities. Whenever Layla attacks, you exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. So this is incremental. It's impulse draw, right? It's incremental card advantage. You can only cast it for that one turn, but every single time you're attacking, you get to basically draw a card temporarily. It's impulse draw. It's a trademark of red at this point. Then, whenever you exile one or more cards from your library and or your graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Layla. Or Laylia. I don't even know how to say it. I'm going to call her Layla. It's easier for me. It's Layla. So one part of it is card advantage. The other part of it is a big beater. Like, this is going to start hitting hard. And the beatdown starts the turn you cast her because, she has haste. So both of these effects are really nice. It's card advantage and offensive pressure. I really like it for 3 mana. I like this design space. It's not exactly breaking down. It's not exactly a new design space for red, but it does both. It does the red thing like really, really well and really concisely. It's not a Dean. It doesn't have like 50 walls of text. It doesn't have a backside of more nonsense. It's just very straightforward. Very much like what you see is what you get. I like it. It's good. It's concise. Also, my favorite thing with it is probably going to be Bag of Holding. So like imagine Bag of Holding on the battlefield, right? And you do a bunch of looting effects, right? Each time you discard a card, you exile that card from your graveyard. So you have Layla on the battlefield, you Faithless Looting, for example. You draw 2, you discard 2, and then you tuck it into the Bag of Holding. And then each time that happens, you're going to put a +1/+1 counter on Layla. So the idea would be like incremental looting effects, discard effects, cycle effects, for example. If you cycle like a Forgotten Cave or something with Bag of Holding on the battlefield, it's just really good value. Like Bag of Holding is just fantastic in any red deck. She's incredibly good in a Layla deck. So I really like it. I just like this design space. It's really nice. And then Chandra's Ignition, yeah. It just gets big fast, and it does very red things. It's card advantage. I like it. Like it. S tier, easy S tier. All right. Again, in Joffrey 99, yeah, I think it's good in Joffrey as well. It's a spirit, so it's always going to get your that anthem value out of it. And it works with that exile trigger, right? Like every single time Layla sees another creature get exiled with Joffrey, it gets bigger. So I think it works really well with Joffrey. So it's in the 99, or as a commander, I like Layla quite a bunch. All right. We'll be moving on to Lochiel, Clockwork Scholar. Lochiel, Elephant Boy. 3 mana Elephant Boy. Lochiel, Clockwork Scholar is a 3 mana white legendary creature, Elephant Artificer. It's a 2/4. And it has 2 abilities. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to attacking artifact creatures you control. And whenever one or more artifact creatures enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability triggers only once each turn. All right. So I'm going to review this in 2 steps. The first step is what I like about the card. So I'm going to give it some praise, and then I'm going to go on a rant. All right. So there's going to be some praise, and there's going to be a rant. All right? All right. So what I like about this card, I like the artwork. I like elephants. I think an elephant artificer is really neat. I like the name. Lucille's a cool name. I like that it draws a card, and I like that it promotes an interesting design space that we haven't really seen explored up until now, really, like artifact creatures and Boros being a thing. That's really cool. I like all those things. All right. However, however, this one sentence I do not like. I do not like this one sentence one bit. All right? This part of the thing I like. This part I do not like. And I'll explain why. Whenever one or more creatures, artifact creatures enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. That's a pretty narrow form of card draw, right? Like, you need to play artifact creatures. It's not just whenever a creature enters the battlefield or an artifact enters the battlefield. It has to be an artifact creature, and I feel like that's already a pretty strong restriction. And not only that, it's also restricted on how many triggers, how much you could draw at any given point, because whenever one or more artifact creatures enter the battlefield under your control, if you play a bunch of artifact creatures and they all enter the battlefield at the same time, you would just draw a card, one card, and that's fine. That's cool. I'm fine with this. I'm okay with this already. I kind of wish you could draw more cards off it, but you know what? That would be fine. Then the second sentence comes in. This ability triggers only once each turn. Only once each turn? So that means if I play an artifact creature, I'll draw a card, and then I play another artifact creature, I don't get to draw a card. The hoop that I had to jump through to already play an artifact creature, you can't just jam this in any deck and get value out of it. You have to run an artifact creature deck in it. And I feel like if you're doing that, why not just let me draw a card every single time an artifact creature enters the battle, or whenever you cast an artifact creature? Like look at SRAM. Look at SRAM. Whenever you cast an aura, equipment, or vehicle spell, you draw a card. It's not once per turn. It's not none of that nonsense. It's whenever you cast one. So how bad would it have been if it was whenever? And this is 3 things you could do: aura, equipment, or vehicle. It's pretty open-ended. This one, though, whenever one or more artifact creatures enter the battlefield under your control, you don't have to cast it. You could just return it from the graveyard. I get it. I get that. I get that it's a little bit of a bonus. I'm okay with one or more being a restriction. But then this part, it's like, why is a restriction? And so I kind of fetched about it on Twitter. I said, like, I don't like this extra limitation. Because, like, why am I limited to drawing a single card per turn? And actually, one of Wizards of the Coast responded to me on Twitter, and they gave me some reasonable explanations. They were like, we are trying to give white some card draw, but we're not trying to go too crazy at the beginning, right? We were trying very conservatively, and then from there we'll try to give a little bit better and better card draw incrementally. And I think that is a fair assessment. But, like, at the same time, the 2 most important things in Commander, as a general rule of thumb, what are the 2 most important resources in Commander? It's mana and card draw. And if you're lacking in the 2 fundamental most important things in a format, you're gonna have a bad time. And we want better card draw, and I don't want to wait like freaking 2 years for them to get to a nice safe spot. And at the same time, when they're like, oh, well, we don't want white to be too good at card draw. We don't want to push the boundaries for white right now. We know that white needs better card draw, but, like, we don't want to push it. Like, look at this. What is this? This was printed in the same year. What? It's a coastal piracy effect, which is primary blue, and it's a creature that can attack and draw cards by itself. It can't be countered, and it's indestructible. And this was printed this year, and they were like, "This is fine. This is fine for green. It's fine. This is good. This is balanced. We don't want to, green is not the primary color of card draw, but maybe we'll just make a strictly better version of Coastal Piracy. Like, 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 look at Coastal Piracy, 4 mana enchantments. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to an opponent, you draw a card. Then look at Toski, 4 mana, legendary creature Squirrel. It's a creature, so it's easier to tutor up in green. Can't be countered, indestructible, can draw cards by itself. Yeah, no, okay. Okay, so when Wizard of the Coast tells me like, oh, we want to be conservative white, and then at the same time they're pushing green to the extreme, and it's just like how do you tell me that you don't want to go too crazy with these restrictions? And then there was another thing. All right, so another person was like, all right, well, if we removed this can only trigger once each turn, then you could potentially combo off or something. You could draw too many cards each turn. Like, what if you built a deck that was like all about, 0 mana, freaking cantrip creatures like Ornithopters? What if you ran a deck full of Ornithopters and stuff? You might be able to draw like 4 cards in a single turn with Lucia Louds if you didn't have this thing preventing it. And then you'd have to run a bunch of Ornithopters in your deck, which, I mean, bless you for doing so, but that would be too much. And then my counter argument is that's just a bad Joyra Weatherlight Captive. Like, she does that already. And it's way better because artifact legendaries are sagas, and it doesn't have to be creatures. It doesn't have to be artifact creatures. It can be any artifact. And this is already artifact creatures. And it's just like, oh man. And then like Wizards of the Coast is like, trust me, this is very good. You could not. It would be busted if this part of the trigger was not there. It would be busted. We can't have that. Can't have a garbage weaker version of Joyra Weatherlight Captain in white. That would be crazy. That would be a color break. That'd be a color break. You don't want to push the card draw too much. Have a color that's not primary for card draw. Just have too good card draw. Oof. Can you imagine, chat, if white had good card draw when they're not supposed to? Oof. And just to clarify, Toski's not a color break. Like, Wizards of the Coast is very quick to say, like, Toski's not a color break. They've had this sort of ability for a long time. However, this is pushed. This is super push. It's too strong, and I don't think I've never heard any good argument that this is not stupidly pushed. And then we just get Lashiel, and it's like, all right, I see how it is, Wizards. All right. So that was my rant. That was pent up for a while. Oof. All right. It goes into C. That's what I'm gonna say. It goes to C. It goes into Dean tier, actually. Do better. This is the do better tier now. Do better, Wizards of the Coast. Remove that last sentence at the very least. My goodness. All right. Moving on. Oh man, that brought out the salt. Toski, 3 mana, 2 fairy are the worst turns of the 9. I don't know. You didn't have Oko in there, Raphael. So I would argue Oko's kind of in there too. Drink some water. That's probably a good idea. Man, they really hate card drawing white. They really hate it. And then they always go on like, oh wow, we're working hard to give white ramp. I don't need the ramp. White's ramp is good. You're giving us bad versions of what we already have. Just give us good card draw. Jesus. All right, we're moving on. My goodness. All right. This is a card I like, though. At least this is a card I like. I'm not going to complain about this one. Ugh. Oof. All right. Mavinda, Student's Advocate. This is a 3-mana bird advisor. I like birds, so this is already a +1 in tier list. It's a 2/3 with flying, and it has a 0 ability. Or activated ability for 0. You may cast a target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard this turn. If that spell doesn't target a creature you control, it costs 8 more casts its way. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. Activate only once each turn. Now, there was an interesting thing that happened when this card was revealed, and a lot of people, well, some people pointed out why it happened. But the interesting thing was people looked at this ability and they were like, "This card is garbage because if I don't target a creature I control, then it costs 8, and that's way too much mana." And it's really a red herring. And it was interesting because people pointed out that Mark Rosewater actually talked about when they add a card like an effect like this where there's a drawback, people focus on the drawback instead of what the card is actually doing. So they will undervalue how good a card is because they added a drawback into it. And if the drawback was not even there, people would actually like the card a lot more. And I think that's kind of happening over here, where imagine if Mavinda said, instead of having this extra clause, it said you may cast target instant or sorcery from your card this turn, as long as it targets a creature you control. And if it didn't have this other option where you can cost 8 or more, people would be a lot more excited for it. But there is the drawback to it. So Mavinda is really good in basically a Spellslinger deck that targets your own creatures, which, I mean, in mono white, probably going to be very difficult to fill. Even in 2-color decks, it's going to be a little bit difficult to fill. People are mentioning how it's kind of like decent in Feather, and I agree. I think in a Feather deck, there are going to be times where you want to cast your instants or sorceries, just to, like, for example, cantrip, before you can even cast Feather. Like, when you're playing a Feather deck, let's pull up Feather so people know what I'm talking about. When you're playing a Feather deck, it's usually not correct to run out Feather without actually having protection for Feather in the first place. So you usually want to play Feather, and then you want to have some mana up to protect your Feather in case somebody has target removal or board wipe or whatever. So it's usually good to actually, wait a couple turns before you have Feather on the battlefield and the protection ready for her. And during that time, you usually have a bunch of like these targeted cantrips in your hand, and you just use them. You're using them because you want to sculpt a good protection hand for Feather. So you want to always hit your land drops, and you want to have protection in hand. So you want to cantrip and cycle your way to them. So there's going to usually be some instants or sorceries that are in your graveyard, even if you intend to cast the bulk of them with Feather on the battlefield. So Mavinda's kind of good like that too, where you can cast Feather, you can establish that loop, you'll have a bunch of instant and sorceries in your graveyard, and then you can cast Mavinda and get more value out of them. Also, when Feather and Mavinda are both on the battlefield, you can cast a instant or sorcery with Mavinda, and when it would get exiled, you actually return to your hand afterwards with Feather. So it does actually synergize well together. I think also Mavinda's really good in a Killian deck if you're going Spellslinger, as people mentioned. Also pretty decent in Shuyan as well, too. So it's very narrow, but I think it's a design space that I feel like Mavinda is going to randomly become really good in future sets as we have more cards and more commanders that care about targeting your own creatures with instants or sorceries. So I think the card's really solid. I think that people are really down on it mostly because of its drawback, which is really not a drawback. It's just like an extra bonus. I see it mostly as an extra bonus. I like it a lot. Would I run it as a commander? No. I wouldn't run it as a commander. But I really like the design space, and I feel like it's a card that you want to keep an eye on in the future. That's pretty much it. So I like Mavinda a lot. I'm not going to run a commander deck around it. but I will run in the 99 of decks, and I like the design a lot. All right, that was it. See, I said only nice things about that card. All right, here's a card that has way too much text on it, and I don't really want to go through that much. All right, this is Mila, Crafty Companion, and Luca, Wayward Bonder. One side is a creature. One side is a freaking Planeswalker. Like, what are you doing, Wizards of the Coast? Why? This is a full card. Are Planeswalkers not freaking complicated enough? You want to have it a backside that also has a fucking wall of text? Oof. All right, Mila has a lot of text on it. This is a 3-mana legendary creature fox, 2/3. It's a good boy. Whenever an opponent attacks one or more planeswalkers you control, put a loyalty counter on each planeswalker you control. Whenever a permanent you control becomes the target of a spell ability an opponent controls, you may draw a card. It's protection. Yeah, it's protection. It's kind of neat. It's kind of neat for Super Friends, I guess, maybe, but not super exciting. Maybe it's good for Super Friends. I would put it in the Super Friends deck, maybe, this side. The other side, it's a 6-mana legendary planeswalker. You may discard a card if you do draw a card. It's a rummage. If a creature card was discarded this way, you draw 2 cards instead, so it's card advantage. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste. Exile it at the beginning of your next upkeep. So it's like a sneak attack, kind of, from the graveyard, but it gets exiled. And then you get an emblem with whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, it deals damage equal to its power to any target. So interesting here is Mila is really good with planeswalkers, and Luca's really good with creatures. But the problem is, if you're running Mila as like a deck, I feel like both sides they don't complement each other in any good way. So it feels weird. Like one's a creature side, one's a planeswalker side. I don't think all of this text is necessarily great outside of a Super Friend deck. I don't know. It's too much text. This is just too much text to ask. I don't like it. This isn't a Dean tier. It's just too much. I don't like it. I just don't make freaking cards this long. I don't like it. Not a fan. Not a fan of Mila. Just from a design point of view, I'm not a fan. This is kind of nuts in a Hoffrey deck. What's Hoffrey? Is it? It doesn't die, though. The problem is it doesn't die. Exile it at the beginning of your next end step. I guess you could sacrifice it. It's pretty good there, I guess. Yeah, if you have a sacrifice outlet, and I guess in Hoffrey you do want a sacrifice outlet, is better there. But then you're not really getting that much value out of the Mila. I don't know. It's still in D tier. It's in D tier. I'm sorry. It's good in Hoffrey, I'll give you that, but I just don't like it. All right, Nils. All right. Disappointment that disappoints even without having any expectation. Wow. Well, you and I are a little bit different than the Dan because I like this card a lot. This is a 3-mana 2/2 legendary creature, human cleric. At the beginning of your end step, for each player, put a +1/+1 counter on up to one target creature that player controls. So you don't have to pump up their creatures, but you can. And you're also pumping up your own creatures as well with counters. Each creature with one or more counters on it can't attack you or planeswalkers you control, unless its control pays X, where X is the number of counters on that creature. I like this. This is a political card. This is right up my alley. You buff up your opponent's creatures, you buff up your own creatures, and then those creatures have to pay mana. They can't attack you unless they pay mana. And they protect your planeswalkers. He's like a Baird. I don't think he's a bad Baird, though. He's cheaper than Baird. Like, compare that to Baird. He's cheaper than Baird. He does different things. He's pumping your own stuff as well. He's worse against go wide strategies because Baird affects every single creature, and Nils only affects the ones with counters on it. But you're pumping up your opponent's creatures, and and you're basically letting them deal more damage to each other. And I like it. I like it a lot. This is I'm not going to build a deck around it, but this is a perfect inclusion in a politics deck. Very similar to Baird, where you're kind of protecting yourself, but this one kind of helps your opponents kill each other with it. And also it helps you too. If you're running any sort of +1/+1 counter sub-theme, then it's even better. So I like Baird. I am a big fan of that design. Yes, please, and thank you. Boom, boom, boom. 8 S tier. S tier for me. All right, here's another one. Here is another one. All right, Octavia. Living Thesis. You can use nesting grounds to remove counters that don't do anything on creatures. Yeah, same with Ozolith. Yeah, you can. There is definitely counter synergy that you can be using there. Octavia, Living Thesis. 10 mana for this legendary creature, Elemental Octopus 8/8. But you're not usually casting it for 8 mana. This spell costs 8 less to cast if you have 8 or more instant and or sorcery cards in your graveyard. Then it has Word 8, so if you target it with a spell or ability, if your opponent's targeted with a spell or ability, they have to pay 8 more or it's countered. And it has a Magecraft ability. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, that creature has a base power and toughness of 8/8 until end of turn. I like this a lot. So generally speaking, this card is going to be cast more often than not for just 2 mana instead of 10. If you cast it for 10 mana, it's Garbo, obviously. But if you're casting it for 2 mana, it's absolutely insane. You're getting a 2 mana 8/8 that is very difficult to remove with targeted removal. And not only is it a big old creature by itself that's maxed really, really hard or is a good blocker, whenever you're casting an instant sorcery spell, you're turning a token into this enormous beater. So as people are pointing out, Kaikar, it's fantastic in, because Kaikar is usually a spellslinger deck. It's non-creature spells, but I mean, it usually focuses on instant or sorceries. It can make an army of 1/1s with flying, and then Octavia turns them into 8/8 flyers, which is really insane. But I mean, spellslinger is all about these tiny token generators, right? Young Pyromancers, 1. We got Talrand as another. We got, more recently, we got Dika. We got, like, Metallurgic Summonings. You know, like, Spellslinger and tokens kind of go well together like peanut butter and jelly. They're all about that stuff. That's their jam. So if you're in a Spellslinger deck that has a bunch of token makers, Octavia's just fantastic in them, right? So, really like that. Really like Octavia a whole bunch. Big fan, big fan. Octavia is also a political card. It doesn't say you control. Oh, yeah, that's also really sweet. You can like opt in response to somebody attacking and pump up their creature, deal some more damage. So I like this. I don't think this is a good commander. I mean, it could be a decent commander. If it's generally 2 mana to cast, but I like it more as part of the 99 of pretty much any Spellslinger deck. I also like the design of it. I just think it's a cool design card. It's unique. It's interesting. I think somebody pointed out that the word number 8 happens 8 times in this card. Yeah, Gwen pointed it out. So I don't know. It's well designed. I like it. It's very cute. Very cute. All right. Next up, Osgir. How many more do we have? All right, we're gonna speed it up a little bit, chat. We're gonna speed it up a little bit because I can't talk forever. All right, Osgir, the Reconstructor. This is the face card of the Boros Legion, Lorehold Precon. It's a 4 mana giant artificer, 4/4 with vigilance. Already pretty beefy stats here. And it has 2 activated abilities. 1, sacrifice an artifact. Target creature you control gets +2/+0 until end of turn. So you sacrifice something and you go, you could punch stuff really, really hard. Then its other ability is more interesting to me. You could pay X and tap it To exile an artifact with mana value X from your graveyard, create 2 tokens that are copies of the exiled card. Activate only as a sorcery. This ability is kind of insane. Basically, the concept is under Osgir, you want to loot a lot, which is what red is great at doing. You want to be an artifact deck, you want to loot a lot, you want to fill your graveyard full of these powerful artifacts, and then you use Osgir's ability to cast them from your graveyard, essentially, making 2 tokens of them. 2! That's actually insane. Card is really fun. He's really good with artifact lands. Yeah, that's kind of insane. You can, what is it, like Darksteel Citadel? I think there are 3 artifact lands in Boros. So Darksteel Citadel, there's Seat of the Synod, and there's the Great Furnace, I think. So you could loot away Darksteel Citadel or any of these artifact lands. You can tap Osgir and pay 0 mana to exile it, and then boom, you have 2 Darksteel Citadel lands. It's kind of like ramp and such. Not Seat of but Ancient Den. Yeah, that's the one. Ancient Den is one. Yeah. So there's 3. Yeah, this ability is really cool. It's like Boros Artifact Reanimator. Usually something you see in red a lot, but you don't really see it that much in red, white, or Boros. So that's really cool. Karn the Great Creator. Karn the Great. Yes. Active abilities of artifacts your opponent's control can't be activated until your next turn. Okay, so you could turn some of your artifacts into beaters of Karn, and I think this -2 allows you to get stuff from exile. Yeah. So you could exile something with Osgir with his ability, and then you get -2 Karn to get it back to your hand. So I like that synergy a lot. I think that's really cool. I think there's a lot of really cool things you could do with Osgir, but it's like a good card advantage engine, recursion engine, and it floods the board with tokens, which are also really neat. It's just like a neat design space. Annoying Procession, yeah, is also neat. I think it would really depend on how much token synergy you have in the deck with Osgir. If it's just Osgir himself, then probably Anointed Procession is a little bit win more, but there are a lot of really powerful artifacts that you're going to want to run in Osgir that work really well with Anointed Procession to make tokens too, like Mere Battlespieler. So I think Anointed Procession would be pretty darn sweet. I mean, it is ridiculously expensive though, because yeah, it hasn't been reprinted, right? It's been printed a single time in Amonkhet. They really need to get on that. So yeah, I really like Osgir a lot. I think this is a cool design space. I think he's a powerful, very powerful commander that will lead to an interesting new style of deck. And I like him. He's good. He's good. All right. Moving on. All right. We still have a lot of commanders to go through, and I already know where I'm going to be putting this one, chat. I know where I'm putting this one. So we're just going to we're going to cut to the chase. And we're going to take this new Dean, and we're going to put it in the Dean tier. I'm not even going to read it. I don't want to read it. Why do I want to read this? I don't want to read all this. These are 2 cards that they put together. They cheated. They should have put separate cards. I don't know. Boom. I'm done with you, Deans. Done with the Deans. Enough cards in S tier for Tomer to build around until next set comes out. Yeah, that's true. There's a lot of cards that I really like. All right, Quintoros, Field Historian, 5 mana, 2/4 legendary creature, elephant cleric. It's a cleric, it's an elephant. I love elephants. I don't know. This is already high ranking for me already, just by the artwork and creature type. I like it. Spirits you control get +1/+0. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 3/2 red and white spirit creature token. Again, this works really well with a bunch of stuff that that Boros is doing in this set, which is basically a lot of artifact synergies. Like we just talked about Ozgear, and Ozgear can exile artifacts from your graveyard to make copies of them. Quintoros is funny. He's like someone said, he's basically Tormod in red white. Yeah, he's almost exactly like Tormod, right? Except I think he might be. Is he stronger? Well, he doesn't have partner, but you can see quite the resemblance. This is a 5 mana in Boros, 4 mana in black. This one has partner, and it makes 2/2 black zombie creatures. This one makes 3/2 red and white spirit creature tokens, and it has a little bit of an anthem effect. So maybe Tormod's stronger, arguably, because he has partner and he's cheaper, and he has basically the same effect. The anthem is nice. It basically makes these tokens 4/2s, but this one has partner and such, so who knows? That's a toss-up. But I really, really like the design space of this in Boros. Oh, the Tormod tokens enter tapped. Yeah, so that is a downside. So you can't immediately attack with it. But I like Quintoros a bunch because it is Boros. It is in a color that, Boros doesn't really do this too often. And like all this recursion and reanimations in Boros now, and I really like that. Also, I'm not going to knock on the fact that these are 4/2 creatures that it's making, so they're going to hit hard. So that's really sweet. It's really powerful with like Crucible. If I could spell it properly, Crucible. Crucible of Worlds, it's really good. I also mentioned Bag of Holding. Every single time you discard a card, you exile from your graveyard, and every single time you exile from your graveyard, you make a 4/2 spirit creature token. There's a lot of really cool things you can be doing with Quintoros to just generate a ton of tokens out of it. And he's an elephant cleric, and look at him, he's a cutie patootie. I love him. He's definitely an A tier, at the very least. But I'm putting him in S tier. Alright. Next up. We're going to speed up a little bit. Because there's still a lot. There's a lot of commanders. Maybe I should have done 2 different sets individually. Rionia, Fire Dancer, 5 mana, red creature, 3/4, human wizard. At the beginning of combat on your turn, create X tokens that are copies of another target creature you control, where X is 1 plus the number of instant or sorcery spells you've cast this turn. They gain haste. Exile them at the beginning of the next end. So I don't know why X is 1 plus number of instant or sorcery spells you've cast this turn. Even if it wasn't 1 plus and it was just straight up X, this card would be still very strong. But because it's just 1 plus X, you don't even need to cast an instant or sorcery this turn to make at least 1 token with her. And she combos really easily with stuff like, what's the name? Combat Celebrant. You have Rionia on the battlefield. You have Combat Celebrant on the battlefield. You attack a Combat Celebrant, or you go into combat. You make a copy of Combat Celebrant. You exert both. Then you get an extra combat. You get 2 extra combat steps, and then each subsequent extra combat step you have, you make an extra copy of Combat Celebrant. You exert it. You take an extra combat, and you win the game. It's basically a Kiki-Jiki. It's a Kiki-Jiki that may be more busted than Kiki-Jiki. I'm not sure if it's more busted than Kiki-Jiki, but it's definitely a Kiki-Jiki with extra value out of it. I think it's kind of boring though. And again, it's like they really did not have to do 1 plus number of instant sorceries. They could have just been X is equal to the number of instant sorceries, and it would still be a busted card. But it would be at least a little bit less degenerate. It'd be not like a 2-card combo, but like a 3-card combo. You'd have to like opt or Faithless Looting first. So I don't like that. I feel like it's pretty pushed. It gets even better, way, way better, if you're actually casting instant sorcery spells beforehand. But like, this just reminds me of like, just remember this. Remember this, chat. Remember how they had to add this, you know? They had to add this, right? They had to add this little part to the shield, right? Because otherwise they could have drawn more than one card in each turn. Woo! In white, if you cast an artifact creature, woo! But here, you don't even have to cast an instant sorcery. You don't even have to cast an instant sorcery to combo off of her. What is the point of this? Why? Why Wizards of the Coast? You gotta stop them from drawing white more than one card if an artifact creature enters the battlefield. But you don't even have to cast an instant sorcery with Rionia to get her abilities and combo off. Why? What is going on? All right. Rionia D. I'm sorry, she's a very good card. She's an excellent card. She's probably an S tier, but I'm gonna put her right beside Lasheel to make a statement. They're gonna be partners of each other. I just can't. I'm sorry, I just can't. All right, let's move on. Rutha Mercurial Artist is a 3-mana Izzet Orc Shaman. Oof, I like orcs. I like the fact that there's an Orc Shaman that isn't all like Smash, you know? 1/4. Pay 2, return Rutha to its owner's hand. Copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. You may choose new targets for the copy. I guess it does some infinite shenanigans. Maybe. I don't know. This is not really interesting to me. I don't know. It copies a spell, you bounce it. I'm just going to move on. All right. Ruxa, Patient Professor. 4 mana. 4/4. Bear Druid. I love it already. Kind of love it already, to be honest. Whenever Ruxa enters the battlefield or attacks, return target creature with no abilities from your graveyard to your hand. There's not going to be a lot of times where Ruxa is going to be returning anything back to hand, but obviously Bear Tribal, Bear Force 1 is a thing. So if you're in a Bear deck, Rux is going to do it. He is definitely, that is what he's aimed for, I believe. The other 2 abilities are actually useful in multiple other decks, mostly token decks. Creatures you control with no abilities get +1/+1, and you may have creatures you control with no abilities assign their combat damage as though they weren't blocked. So any token deck, if you're making 1/1s with no abilities, they're going to get +1/+1, and they can assign combat damage as if they weren't blocked. So it's decent in combat in token decks, but I feel like you do better. Like if you're running a token deck, I feel like these 2 anthems are just not good enough. Or I mean, they're fine, but you have a lot better options. But this one, I mean, if you're in a bear deck, this is fantastic. This is like one of the best bears you could ever believe. I don't know. It's pretty awesome. Really good in Ayula. I think Ayula is still the better commander out of the 2 because she's like an insane removal engine. But this is S tier. It's very good. Yes, very good. Possum, you can say. Pretty possum, you know? Yeah. All right. Moving on. Speeding it up. Is it better than Ayula? I think Ayula is still better. It costs 2 mana and keeps the battlefield clear of basically any opposing creatures. Yep. Lands beat down Ruxa. That actually is kind of interesting too. Unfortunately, you still can't get stuff back from the graveyard. Please stop with S. It's not special anymore. I don't think the point of S is to be special. It's just what I'm really excited about. But you know what? I guess you could say no. I'm keeping him an S actually. Yeah, I was considering putting him in A, but then I thought about it again. And I was like, nah, he's an S. All right, Shadrick Silver Quill. This is the Orzhov Elder Dragon, 5 mana, 2/5, flying and double strike. Nice. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you may choose 2. Each mode must target a different player. So this, if you want to get value out of it, you gotta be political with it. Target player creates a 2/1 white and black inkling creature token with flying. Target player draws a card and loses 1 life. Target player puts a +1/+1 counter on each creature they control. I like this a lot. It's very political. You have to help out an opponent um, if you want to get some of the value yourself. You're probably going to be using this one a lot. Draw a card and lose 1 life on yourself. Or you might be putting a token onto the battlefield, whatever. Or you might be using the Anthem effect if you have a bunch of tokens. I like it. I like if somebody's behind in the game, you can give them a card. You can ingratiate yourself by giving somebody a token. If you can if somebody has a big army and you have like a board wipe in hand, and you'd be like, hey, we have a mutual threat. I'll give you +1/+1 counters on your creatures. You go swing and kill somebody else. I like all these things. It's a good card. It's very political. Political is all my jam, and it's just good. You don't even need to attack with him. It's just at the beginning of your combat of your turn. I like it. I like this card a lot. Big ol' plus sign for me. That's the S tier. All right, moving on. Oh god, it's a Dean. Oh god. Oh god. Ugh. All right, moving on. Not dealing with that anytime soon. Tanazir Quandrix. This is the Quandrix Elder Dragon, Simic, or Quandrix, or whatever you want to call it. 5 mana, 4/4, Flying Trample, Elder Dragon. When Tanazir Quandrix enters the battlefield, double the number of +1/+1 counters on target creature you control. So it's kind of like not a doubling season, but it's like a doubly thing. There is a card specifically that does that, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. There's like an enchantment. There's like a Hydra or something. There's like each upkeep, and there's another one that's just kind of like it just doubles all the counters. I think it's source or instant speed, but it's a good effect. And the other effect is whenever Tanazir Quandrix attacks, you may have the base power and toughness of other creatures you control become equal to Tanazir Quandrix's power and toughness. This is a big old Anthem effect. Buffs all your winning creatures. It's very good with Fractals in particular. We talked about Dika before, but Dika, like the whole shtick with Fractals is they're 0/0s. And they come in with counters. So Quandrix obviously works really well with that. Since he starts with a base power and toughness of 4, at the very least, your Fractals are going to get +4/+4 when Tanazir's attacking, and you can double the amount of counters on a Fractal or something better than that. It's pretty good. Am I interested in building a deck around Tanazir? Probably not. He's in the Blex tier. He's okay. I like him. He's good at what he does. All right, moving on. Deep Glow Skate for creatures. Yeah, it's like a worse Deep Glow Skate, but has that powerful Anthem effect as well. All right, Tivash Gloom Summoner, 5 mana, Human Warlock, 4/4, Lifelink. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain life this turn, you may pay X life, where X is the amount of life you gain this turn. If you do, create a XX Black Demon creature token with flying. So basically, this is like a life gain payoff card. The problem with life gain decks is if you're getting a bunch of life, first of all, gaining life in itself, while useful to keep you alive, doesn't really advance your board state any other way. So having some payoffs for gaining life is essential to make the life gain deck more appealing. And Tivash does that. It allows you to pay life to make demon tokens, which is really good. And also the nice thing about Tivash is that if you gain a bunch of life and you're just sitting at a higher life total than everybody else, people feel obligated to attack you, right? Like at the very least, they don't want you to be like over 40 life because, that turns on a bunch of really powerful abilities on your end. Like you could drop down a test of endurance and win the game and stuff like that. So people will attack the person who's way higher in life total. So a life gain person is going to be attacked constantly. Tivash is a nice way where you're like, all right, I gained 10 life or whatever. And I don't want to be attacked. I don't have a bunch of blockers. Tivash just drops down a big token, and boom, you have a big blocker, and you have a use for all that life gain. Seems nice. Seems efficient. It's 5 mana, though. It does have lifelink, so Tivash can actually feed into its own ability, which is cool. Like, even if you just hit with Tivash, you can make a 4/4 if you wanted to. Combos with Veto. I don't think it combos with Veto. It's just Veto is good in... Yeah, whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. I don't think it really combos with that. in a sense, in any way more than any life gain combos with Veto. But I think it's neat. I don't know. Not super excited about it. He's definitely a C. You know, I'm happy he exists. Maybe he's a B. He's a Blex tier. He's Blex. I like Blex. All right. Oh, we got a Dean. Ooh, this is very easy. All right, Dean goes to Dean tier. Ooh, we got another Dean. Oh, how exciting. Dean tier it is. Boom. All right, let's go to something fun. All right. Velomachus Lorehold. This is a big old Boros Lorehold Elder Dragon. 7 mana for a 5/5 flying vigilance haste. Whenever it attacks, look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may cast an instant or sorcery spell with mana value less than or equal to Velomachus Lorehold's power among them without paying its mana cost. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. This is a very powerful effect. It costs a lot of mana. It's 7, you know. In Boros, that's going to be... You're going to have to ramp a lot. And you're not in green, so you can't ramp it out as cheaty face as some other... colors can do it. But I mean, red is really good at like mana geyser effects and whatnot. It can ritual it out, no problem. So the most busted thing you can do with Velomachus, or the most busted people found out was extra combat steps, right? Like if you attack, you look at the top 7 cards of your library, you hit an extra combat spell, then you can cast it and then attack with Velomachus again. If you could chain it together, boom, 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 you can kill the entire table. The only problem with that, though, is most extra combat spells don't actually work with Velomachus's timing restriction, because you have to cast it during the attack step, specifically when he's attacking, right? And most extra combats don't actually work like that. Additional? There it is. Additional combat phase. Most of them don't actually let you cast it during your combat phase. So example, Relentless Assault. Untap all creatures that attack this turn. After this main phase, if you're not in the main phase, you can't cast it, right? After this main phase, there is an additional combat phase. So anytime it says additional main phase, can't do it. Additional main phase. This one I think works. This one doesn't work. This main phase, because it's not in the main phase. So Savage Beaten works. Ruled at War I think also works. And I think that might be it. Yeah. So the second thing you can do with Velomachus, so you can add the additional combats that work with it. But the main thing is you do something like Cataclysm, right? You attack with Velomachus. He's a 5/5 vigilance flying haste. He's going to end games pretty quickly. All you're going to do is you're going to attack. You're going to cast Cataclysm. Everybody loses most of their permanents. You keep... your big 5/5 dragon, which is probably the biggest thing on the battlefield. Everybody sacrifices a bunch of stuff, and you just win the game by essentially stacking your opponents out while you have a giant threat. Razia's Purification is another one, but I think you might have to pump up. You might have to pump up his power first to cast it. 6 mana, yeah. So unfortunately, you have to pump up his power by 1 to cast Purification. But Cataclysm works. Armageddon is less effective because if your opponents already have a board state, that's not gonna be guaranteed to win you the game. But there's gonna be stuff you can do. Cataclysm is probably the best one. So for that reason, I feel like Velomachus is going to be not a competitive commander, but it is a powerful one. Maybe semi-competitive is probably a nice terminology. He's essentially like, he's a semi-competitive, he's a bad Narset. This is what he is. He's a bad Narset. Narset is in blue. Narset works with extra combats, all the extra combat spells. Has hexproof, so it has a little bit of protection as well, and works also with extra turns as well. So Velomachus is basically like a bad version of Narset that is also going to probably promote the exact same response, where your entire table is going to have to stop Velomachus from doing its thing, and either you play Velomachus fairly, where you're just casting just random spells, but your opponents will try their darndest to stop you, or you just like knock out cataclysms and stuff like that, and then at that point, like, why aren't you just running Narset? I think the one thing that Velomachus has above Narset is it has flying and it has haste, so you can immediately cast it. You can immediately start getting its value engine going the turn you cast it, and it has flying, so it has evasion. But I don't know. It's a poor man's Narset. Like, if you just want to play Narset, just play Narset. Don't play a bad version of Narset. I don't know. I don't like it. I think it promotes some unhealthiness to it. I'll put it in the C tier, though, so I'm not going to yuck on somebody's yum too much. I don't know. I don't like it. All right, here's the one I really like, though. This is probably my favorite one. Veyran, Voice of Duality. This is Prismari? It's Prismari. I don't know. I feel like everybody's going to go back to saying is it as soon as we're done with Strixhaven. It's a Prismari commander. 3 mana Prismari. 2/2. Legendary creature, Ifrit Wizard. I like Ifrits. I like those a lot. And it's basically a Panharmonicon for instant sorcery spells, which I really like. So it has a Magecraft ability. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, Veyran gets +1/+1 until end of turn. So it's kind of like a prowess, like a Magecraft prowess. That's like a temporary buff effect. So if you cast or copy a bunch of instant sorceries, you can potentially deal lethal damage with this one, or like commander damage too. Then if you cast or if you casting or copying an instant or sorcery spell causes a triggered ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. So it works on itself. So basically every single time you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, it gets +2/+2 if I'm understanding it correctly. But it also works with like a bajillion different things, right? Like a bajillion different things in Spellslinger are all triggered on instant or sorceries. So we got Talran. We talked about Talran. We have all these Spellslinger token generators. You're gonna make 2 of them now. If you have like 1,000-Year Storm, right? 1,000-Year Storm. Every single time you cast an instant sorcery spell, you copy it, you trigger it. So boom. So it's really great for Storm. It's really good for basically anything Spellslinger wise, and it's just really fun. It's an absurdly strong commander, and it's only 3 mana. It's kind of crazy. It can one shot. It can storm off. It can make a bunch of tokens. It slices and dices. It's very, very strong. Perhaps a little bit too strong. I think it probably is worth 4 mana instead of 3. But I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna really enjoy it. It's definitely near the top there for my S tier. I like Yomi a little bit more because it's Yomi. But Veyran, I would say, is like going into my Spellsling deck. And it's probably going to be my my lieutenant, you could say, for my commander deck, my Niv-Mizzet Perun. Niv-Mizzet staying as my commander, but if I want to tone down Niv-Mizzet a little bit and take out, my infinite combos, I'll put Veyran as like a secondary. I feel like she's too pushed though. Yeah, I feel like they should have made her a little bit more mana, cost a little bit more mana, because it's too easy to combo off of her. It's kind of crazy. Whatever. Anyway, I like her. All right, next, Willow-Dusk, Essencier, 3 mana. This is the Witherbloom. It's a 3 mana Golgari, 3/3 legendary creature, Dry Druid. I like that. I like the artwork too. You pay 1 mana and you tap it to choose another target creature. Put a number of +1/+1 counters on it equal to the amount of life you've gained this turn or the amount of life you lost this turn, whichever is greater. Activate only as a sorcery. It's a token generator. Makes a lot of tokens, a lot of counters, +1/+1 counters on a creature. Buffs them up real big. If it's in a life gain deck, you're gonna get a bunch of life. If you put it not even in a life gain deck, you cast like Promise of Power, Necologia, that sort of stuff. You can lose a lot of life very quickly. It just makes counters though. I'm not super keen on it. It's fine. It's not a Dean, but it goes into C. Not really excited about it. I'm sure, yeah. Willowdust, Necropotence, Spike Feeder, double you win. Yeah, that's fine. I don't know. It's fine. It's okay. I guess it's in Blex tier. I'll put it in Blex tier. There it is. All right, Eudora. Eudora is a cool one. I like Eudora a lot. This is a 5 mana green creature. 5 mana 5/5. Legendary creature, Treefolk Druid. Whenever another non-token creature you control dies, you may return it to the battlefield face down under its owner's control. It's a forest land. So this card is really cool. Basically, it's recursion for... Not recursion. It's like a transformation for every single time your creatures die. You turn it into a forest, which is great. And it's great in a couple of different ways. The first one is people are going kind of gaga about it in Kadena decks. Morph decks, for example. All these morph cards. I guess we'll show a morph card. Morph cards are, you can cast these cards face down, and then they have an ability. When they're face down, they have an ability that you can turn it up, face time, anytime for... This is Megamorph. Megamorph is a dumb mechanic. It's morph, but you add a counter on it. It's lazy. But whatever. So basically, whenever a thing with morph is face down, you can just flip it up anytime by paying its Megamorph from morph card or whatever. With Eudora, if a Megamorph creature dies, or any creature of morph dies, you can return it face down, and it's a forest, but you can just flip it up at any time by paying its morph cost. That's like an inherent ability of any card with morph on it. So you can do some silly things in Kadena, for example, which is the morph, like the de facto morph tribal leader. Anytime your morph creatures die, they re-enter the battlefield as a land, and then you can flip them up at any given time. So there's combos with this. It also triggers landfall and stuff too. It's also ramp. It's also, it combos off. It does a bunch of things, silly things in morph decks. But in general, it's just a good card by itself. It's cool. I like it. It's a neat design space that I enjoy. All right. Neat design space. That means you are an S. Boom. There it is. All right. Two more left. Zaphi, Thunder Conductor. This is a 4 mana Izzet/Prismari creature, 1/4. Legendary creature, human shaman, Magecraft ability. Whenever you cast or copy an instant or sorcery spell, scry 1. If that spell's mana value is 5 or greater, create a 4/4 blue and red elemental creature token. And if that spell's mana value is 10 or greater, Zaphi deals 10 damage to an opponent chosen at random. This is cool. It's an interesting design space. Interesting design space where it's a Spellslinger deck, and we've seen a bunch of Spellslinger decks at this point, but it does care about mana value / CMC or whatever in a unique way that I don't think we've really seen before. So you're going to scry a whole bunch. Occasionally you're going to make tokens, and very occasionally you're going to dome people for 10 in the face. Really good with Grafted Exoskeleton. If you attach Grafted Exoskeleton on Zaphi, you give him an effect. You give him an effect of Grafted Exoskeleton, and then you cast a spell mana value 10 or greater. You just kill somebody very quickly. Also, there's a bunch of spells that cost a lot of mana that you can cheat on. It's going to be hard for me to showcase. Maybe. Instant sorcery. But there's like Delve. There's like... what other than Delve? There's stuff. There's X spells that you can cast for cheaper. What's a good one? Here we go. 11 mana, Temporal Trespass. You can cast it for as low as 3. Volcanic Salvo. You have to have a bunch of creatures on the battlefield, but Spellslinger is really good at filling the board with creatures. You can cast it for as little as 2 mana, sort of stuff like that. Yeah. So there's definitely potential here. Delve. Here's Delves. Yes, 8 mana spell they can cast for just 2. So there's a bunch of cool things you can do with the ability. Personally, I might write him in the 99. I respect that he is good and kind of unique, so I'll put him in the A tier. I like Izzet. I like Spellslinger. All right, Zimone, final one. This is a uncommon, 2 mana, uncommon, legendary creature, Quandrix, Simic, whatever. 1/2, legendary human wizard. This D tier. It has 2 abilities. Thank goodness, it has 2 abilities only. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield tap, and you can pay 4 and tap it to draw a card. If you control 8 or more lands, draw 2 cards instead. Both of them work well together. My throat. Whoa. All right, I have to drink more. Amazing use of the side space. Yeah. This is just a civic card. You know, it puts lands, it draws cards. I don't care about it in the commander. I think it's fine as a commander, right? Like, it's 2 mana. You're always going to cast it for 2. The turn after that, you're probably ramping, and then you also have card draw. It's fine. It's also fine in the 99. I feel like it's good. It's a good card. It's not fantastic, though. Like, it's a good budget inclusion. It's going to be cheap. No hate on it. It's pretty boring, but I like the flexibility here. Like, early game, you want to put lands onto the battlefield. Late game, though, if you're ramping really hard and you're putting all these lands on the battlefield, you want to draw cards, right? And she does both. I think that's good. I think it's good. It's a good card. Do I want to build a commander around it? No. But it's a good card. I'll give it a B. All right. And that is it, friends. We finally got there. Behold. As I said before, this is not a power ranking guide. This is my initial interest in these cards. And this is how I'm interested in them. The Deans go into Dean tier. Lore Shield and Rionia, they're going to hang out together to set an example. There's a bunch of cards that I do not care to build around ever. There's a bunch of cards that I'm happy to run in the 99, but don't really care about them in the command zone. Or Adrix, I guess. Adrix is a good commander that I'm kind of interested in, but it seems a little bit too strong. I'm very much interested in building around. And then S is like definitely interested in building around. That's how it goes for me. Closing thoughts. I think Strixhaven and Commander 2021, obviously, I think a lot of them are really, really good. There's a lot of flavor wins. There's a lot of unique commanders. There's a lot of cool abilities that I'm interested in building around. So A+ on that. We'll put Rexa in the A. I don't really want to build another bear deck, actually. I'll put him in A for flavor. It is a lot of legendaries, I will admit, but generally speaking, really happy with it. The only thing that I do not like are these MDFCs. I want them to stop. I want MDFCs to stop, and I want white to have good card draw. That's it. That's all I want. I want MDFCs to stop. Just make one side of land and just stop there. And give white good card draw, you cowards, as one British person says. But yeah, overall though, like, look, I love these sets. They're really, really good. Yeah. So hopefully that was entertaining. Perhaps enlightening as well. Maybe we learned something together. You definitely chat. You definitely helped me out figuring some new combos and whatnot out. So I'm very much appreciative for that. And I appreciate everybody showing up on your Sunday, just, hanging out with me and chatting and figuring out what commanders I'm most excited for together as a little discovery process that was communal. So, yeah. Yomi. I love Yomi. I think Yomi's my favorite of the bunch. If there was a Yomi tier, he'd go up in the Yomi tier. Let me do a Yomi tier. There's a Yomi tier. No, I screwed it up. Add row above. There it is. Yomi tier. There it is. That's where he belongs. Boop. Yomi tier. And there it is, friends. That is my final decision. Just keep in mind that this is not a power ranking guide. This is not any CEDH guide, you know? This is just how I feel about these cards initially. But yeah, that's it. Hope everybody enjoyed this Sunday stream. Wednesday, I will be back with another stream. It's going to be gameplay stream, EDH gameplay playing on Magic Online. We're going to be playing a $100 deck. I don't know what I'm playing yet, but I'm going to have to figure that pretty soon. And I will let people know on Twitch and whatnot. So thanks again so much for joining me on this Sunday. Hope you have a good rest of your night. Thank you so much for on European time and you're staying up late for this. I really appreciate everybody coming out, hanging out. Thanks so much again. If you're not there, you're Eastern time like me. This is about 7 p.m. for me, so I'm going to go get some dinner. I'm going to relax, and then Monday is back to knocking out those precons. So, by the way, precon upgrades are going up. The first one went up today. The Quandrix Quandary is already up on the channel, so if you want to upgrade the Quandrix deck, you can see that. And the rest of the week, we'll have the remaining 4, plus, you know, new Commander Clash and new other things as well, new shorts and all that stuff. So a lot of stuff coming up next week as well. And I hope you all enjoyed. Thank you so much for joining. And until next time, friends, see ya.